Collegiate Esport Commissioners Cup. I am Septilence, and I get a really neat opportunity here. We get to interview Burns from E United. Burns, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. We're on day 2 of the event. It's been a fantastic one. I ran into you yesterday, but we were running around like chickens with our heads off, and it has been, how has your time been here? What has this event kind of been like?
Yeah, it's great. I just love being in a passion pit, seeing all the college kids go at it. Reminds me of like an old school MLG event almost, but being like in the epicenter of the passion pit, seeing Rocket League, Valorant, Overwatch, and Smash, it's amazing to see all of these schools compete against each other and get a shot to play on this main stage.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And tell us a little bit about kind of what is E United, right? Because we know that you're here, we know you're here to represent them, but for the people that don't know, what is E United?
Yeah, E United was founded in 2016. We're a professional esports organization. We've been in League of Legends, Overwatch, all the way to Battle Right, I think it was called back in the day. Right now in 2022, we are in Gears of War, Halo, Rocket League, PUBG, and announcing a new title tomorrow. I know, get the small intel here. So it's a lot of fun. I went pro in Call of Duty when I was younger. I ended up playing my last event under E United, switched in 2016, and I've been the GM ever since. So it's a true blessing to be able to stay with an organization for as long as I have, and we love giving back to the collegiate community. I actually graduated from Full Sail in 2013.
I was a little confused about the jersey.
Yeah, so the Full Sail boys are out of the tournament, unfortunately, but I decided I would rep them today in their honor. Yeah, it's just great. I love working with younger individuals who are trying to find their path in esports, and these college kids are really showing what they're all about.
Yeah, so to be kind of an ex-pro player, where a collegiate scene at the time didn't exist, especially not to the scale right now, what is it like to see such high levels of success, such high levels of support for something that you weren't able to kind of get as much support in at the time, something that was looked down on a lot more?
Yeah, I'm extremely jealous. That's all I can say. Full Sail started their program in 2017. When I was there in 2011 and 12, it was just a bunch of nerds running around, just creating their own clubs. I was still striving to go pro, but now you have these opportunities to play on main stage, play in front of thousands of people. We just had locals back in the day. You would show up and play for like $200, $100. It was like lunch money. Now these kids are playing for scholarships. They're playing for fame. They could pop off here and end up getting a sponsor for $10,000 or $20,000 from somebody. So the opportunities are just endless at the moment, and I think it's just great that you basically can prove yourself and make anything happen right now.
It's instead of kind of what you had gone through, being in college and also trying to go pro, these kids can try to go pro while being in college. It's hand in hand instead of those two kind of battling kind of matchups. So if somebody's trying to go pro, right, they're like, Burns, I want to be you one day. I want to be the GM of E United one day. What is that first step to really take it from a hobby to a passion, to a job?
Yeah, I think I've told this story a lot, but it's really, I thought about going pro every night before I went to bed. Like, I lived and breathed Call of Duty for years. It was my life. I had to skip dinner sometimes. I had to skip family functions, and my family didn't really understand, but it was what I wanted to do, and it all worked out. But at the end of the day, you always need to kind of be organized. You have to have the ability to not put all of your eggs in one basket. So even though it worked out for me, there are so many opportunities in esports. There's being a caster or interviewing people. There's working in production. There's helping people get waters. Like, literally, there are so many opportunities. So, oh, this crowd's awesome.
They're going crazy, dude. They stayed on their last life right now.
Off subject, Smash, regardless if it's middle school, high school, college, it pops off all the time. I love it.
Well, Burns, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, guys.
Well, my name is Darian Wheeler. I'm a junior at Cornell College, and I play for the Overwatch and Smash Ultimate team there. I also play football, and I enjoy playing Ultimate Frisbee as well.
Wow, how do you have time for all that?
I have no idea.
Just gotta prioritize, right?
Yeah.
So how long have you been playing Overwatch and Smash, you said?
Overwatch, I started playing the summer before I came to Cornell, which was in 2019. And since then, I've gone from bronze to master's ranking just by being on the team. And Smash, I started when the game first came out, but I haven't played the game competitively until around the end of last year.
And what made you want to start competing?
At the time, our esports coach, we just started getting into like big tournaments and stuff. And so we went to a tournament where one of the PGR, one of the top 50 players in the world, was appearing, and we played him, and it was not pretty. It was we got stomped into the dirt, and so that I didn't like that. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna play better, and I'm gonna figure out how to beat someone like that, because that was not fun.
And what have you done to get better at the game? Like, what kind of strategies do you use?
We have weekly practices. We have Monday, Thursday, and Friday. We practice. I play by myself, of course. I go to tournaments, and from these tournaments against good players, I take the film that I get, and I VOD review it, learn what I could have done better, um, and figure out things like positioning, usage of abilities, that type of thing.
So, what do you think about your team? How does it feel to be a part of an esports team? And do you guys all get along? Are you guys friends?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. We like if we're all in the room together, we're just joking around. Which sometimes makes it hard to practice because it's very hard. It's hard to get serious when it's really goofy like that. But I love being on the team. It's like one of the reasons I stayed on the esports team, despite because we had a director change. Despite the director change was because I just love the team.
That's really good. You guys support each other and all that. That's awesome. You said you've gone to competitions and stuff. Well, how often do you think you game a week? How many hours do you think you play a week?
Maybe over 24, maybe 30 hours. It's a lot of time.
You play Smash and Overwatch. Which one do you like better and why?
I like Smash better. One, I've always fighting games have always been my thing before shooters, so that's part of it. And I'm much better at Smash than I am at Overwatch. Overwatch is more of a team-based game, so your individual performance matters a lot less. But Smash, everything that you do, it's all on you, so you can always improve on that.
And I know you've been to competitions and stuff before, but do you still get nervous when you're about to compete, or are you pretty confident?
Oh man. Yeah, I get nervous still. It depends though. I usually have music playing, calm my nerves, but especially if I'm going against a player who I know is very high ranked, very well known, very good. In tense situations, I just get nervous, and it just doesn't go well if that happens. But yeah, I still get nervous.
Yeah, I think that's natural though. Are there any specific teams or schools that your team kind of watches out for or that you really want to beat?
Iowa State, their team is crazy. So they have most of the top ranking players in Iowa. So those guys they have a big target on their backs.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you think about CECC and do you think your team will go to Atlanta?
Currently, our team we're going over a massive overhaul because we're down a lot of players due to transfers and other things, but it's still possible. I think we can do it.
Okay, yeah, we hope to see you there. um, Backtracking a little bit, what are you studying in school? What's your major?
Biochemistry.
Okay, geez, you do it all. What the heck? What do you plan to do with biochemistry? And do you ever see any overlap between what you're learning in school and esports?
My initial plans were to possibly go into medicine, but I'm leaning more towards biochemical research. So I don't know if that overlaps somehow, but if it can, that'd be great.
Would you ever want to be an esports coach?
Of course, it's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, when you're not doing medicine and you find time between football and the ultimate frisbee, maybe you can be an esports coach.
Uh, I'll find time to do it all, I guess.
Yeah. Are there any players on your team that stick out to you, whether it be a success story, their growth, or even yourself that you want to talk about?
Let's see. Well, of course, myself is a good success story, I guess. Because when I joined the Smash and Overwatch team in 2019, I was garbage. Like, it was bad. Like I said earlier, I was bronze rank in Overwatch, which lowest possible rank. It's terrible down there. And then from there, I went to Masters, which is the second highest rank, which is just ridiculous. And then in Smash, I was also bad. So, and now I'm one of the top ranking players in Iowa. So yeah, it's pretty good.
So, what has been your proudest moment or specific moment? I know you jumped ranks there, but has there been any specific moments in a game or tournament that really you're proud of?
It was last year during we had a Smash tournament, Smash Ultimate tournament. It was a Wi-Fi tournament. To qualify for the national part of it, we needed to beat this one school, and the school had some really good players. Like I think they had a Link player, and I forget the rest of them. But we were losing. I fumbled hard. I lost all 3 stocks, and I didn't take any. It was bad. And then my team rallied, and we beat them, and the whole room exploded. It was fantastic. Everyone was jumping all over the place. It was yeah. It
Yeah,
was a great time.
let me imagine the energy. That's really awesome. So, my last question for you is, do you have any goals for the rest of this school year that you want to accomplish?
Well, for Overwatch, I do want to rank up again. I want to get GM, and for Smash Ultimate, I want to get a higher rank. I think so. In East Iowa, I'm ranked I think fourth or third, but I want to be first. I want to be the top of the ranking. I don't. I don't like being under 2 other people. It doesn't feel right.
Well, I'm sure you can do it. Is there anything that you would like to add about your team or you before we go? Anything you want the world to know about you?
Join our team. We're great people. I don't know.
Good. That's good. Well, thank you again so much for your time and doing this interview with me and fitting me in your schedule of all the stuff you have going on. I really appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
You too.
I really think that there's been a sorely missed opportunity for developers to take a step back from competition and take a step forward with community. And if they do that, I think we all win, because community, I would argue, is the one thing that no one's trying to solve. We're trying to solve recruitment. We're trying to solve competition. Tell me, where's community? Honestly, any one of you, go ahead. Shout out what's the national community for Scholastic right now. Any title, tell me.
Yeah.
Where do I go? How do I meet and hang out?
Of the storm. How does
community zero?
There's nothing. It doesn't exist anymore. And it doesn't exist statewide. It doesn't exist school-wide. It doesn't exist region-wide. It doesn't exist nationally. It doesn't exist digitally on Twitch. It doesn't exist digitally on Discord. It doesn't exist through any form of skill-based development. It doesn't exist on any form of, skill-based learning or just pure socialization and fandom. Huge missed opportunity. You want to take their time and make it more efficient, in my opinion. Tell Riot Scholastic politely to stop what they're doing with competitive, and their integration with LCS should be, Twitch, symposiums and summits and conversations and learning and all sorts of wonderful things, and promoting camps and educational learning activities and RSSA sponsored curriculum. That will move the needle. I don't see any of that.
So Chris, that was pretty much the last topic. You kind of wrapped it in a nice package called community. And I was kind of thinking more from an organizer and a broadcaster point of view around growing fandom. And how do we get fandom around collegiate esports to look more like traditional sports across the board? And, that helps us go out and sell sponsorships in the place, of which trickles down to all our member schools that we represent. But when we go to brands and we can't check that box of, 1 billion impressions and 1 million views, we still are challenged with selling those sponsorships. So my last and final is, do we have any secrets around how to grow fandom or grow community let's just start with on campus?
I got the bed one real quick.
Okay.
Best way to grow community: food nights. It has nothing to do with playing the game. I'll give you a real life example. We used to do dollar burger night at the University of Cincinnati. We'd just go out to Bar Louie. We used to have dollar burgers every Wednesday. We'd post in at this time it was Facebook groups, tell people where to show up. 6 people, 12 people showed up the first week. By the third month, we had 40 plus people coming. And it was the biggest revenue night of the week for Bar Louie every week, purely because of us. But we had friendships, we had relationships, we had roommates, we had all sorts of great, wonderful things come from that. And that translated to our LANs, our club meetings, and everything from that. It was nothing beats food nights.
Just like pro sports, we need to focus on tribalism. And the way that you create tribalism is you have to prioritize in-person experience, in my opinion. I think that there's a lot of companies trying to become unicorn online platforms, but at the end of the day, I think we need pockets and hubs around the country that serve as regional and local hubs. Once you get a group of people together that share their love for the team that is on their campus, they start to develop a bond around that. You can do that online, but it won't be nearly as effective. Professional esports is having this tribalism problem because it's the majority of it's online. It's resulted in fans following players more so than the teams. I mean, that's a pretty broad topic, though. Like, we're starting to see those trends in traditional sports as well start to occur. People will follow LeBron and specific players on different teams to wherever they are. But I think for collegiate specifically, schools need to create meaningful live experiences. And if we're talking explicitly about fandom, you have to make the students on your campus care about the team first. That's the biggest thing. Either you create a level of pride through community engagement, or through the team itself. At a lot of schools, the groundwork is there for this. Like, there are schools like UBC, Ohio State, with Buckeye Gaming Collective, that have clubs that number in the 2,000 to 3,000 range, right? So they have a base to begin with. At a school like Maryville, like, we kind of developed it the opposite way. When I came in and started building our esports program, we had 3 kids in our esports club. And so we've kind of built the team, and then the club has followed, which is kind of the opposite for a lot of schools. But I think that we have to develop tribalism, and that starts with meaningful live events. And the more that these events, the longer that these events continue to be like only online, the less effective it is in creating that final goal.
Agreed. Doc, you wrap it up for us, please.
I would just say this: clubs ebb and flow based on their leadership. But if all students, all clubs, all groups are given regular and meaningful invitations to come in, use the space, create what you want out of this, then it will continue to thrive despite the change in leadership. I can just imagine that Cincy student group with Chris, heavy in the leadership there, just being amazing. But there's not always someone with his skill set at the helm. So you just need to be open and look for opportunities to serve, even though it can be more difficult, especially in the scheduling of the space. I know a lot of people that don't like anybody else but the players they're recruited to use their space. As much as we can, if we want to build community, we have to open the space to people that we wouldn't normally see in there and let them do the types of things that they want to do.
One more thing, so like on a national level, though, if we want to raise the general viewership of all of collegiate esports and not just different pockets, that's a hard one, because people watch esports to see people do stuff that they're better than them at, right? So naturally, at the collegiate level, we're going to be at a lower level than pro. So it's hard to get people to watch for that reason. But what we can sell are narratives and storylines, matchup histories. And as we start to build a longer history of collegiate esports, I actually truly believe that some of the CLOL storylines are more rich than what exists in Academy and
100%.
and the LCS, but no one's really covering it. No one's really drilling down into it. No one's creating narrative content. So I think that that's the key to getting people to care about it. Like, if there's a storyline, people attach themselves to it. Yeah.
I'll add one more thing before we end. The largest organizations on any university campus. This is a very blanket statement. Could be wrong for you. It's right for many. Campus ministry and Greek life are always the largest groups on campus. Why? It's because of the concept of family. Let me explain. With a club or a program, many people identify, oh, I am a gamer, but I am also A, B, C. And usually it's I am A, B, C, and I'm also a gamer. Not everyone is a gamer first and foremost. And you're only going to capture that population if you're promoting purely competitive and purely esports. And so I said food nights and social activities. I'm really stealing from campus ministry and Greek life, because what you want to do to build community at your school is to make it so that the thing that you're doing is the number one thing in the students' lives. Now, that's a very selfish thing to say, but it's a true statement. For you to grow the largest community, your community needs to feel that the thing that they're a part of is the most important part of their social campus experience. That's why Greek life is so successful. That's why campus ministry is so successful. And when you treat esports as a program of just competition, practice, and development, that's an outlet. That's not a way of life. Not for at scale. Not when 55% of the campus body at a Division I school identifies as a gamer in some way, shape, or form. You're not going to touch that 55%. You're going to touch 5%, maybe. you're probably going to touch 0.05% or 0.5% at a Division One school. And so what you really need to do is build that community authentically by, as Doc said about Dan, what are the people prioritizing, and do that. And how do they enjoy their life? What would they find meaningful? Do that. And then do everything else, because the financials and everything else, the planning and all that matters too. And that's why we have a talent problem in Scholastic Esports. But I will wrap up and say, for the national level, Dan's completely right on narrative. But I'm not worried about that, because the only thing we need to build community nationwide is just time. Mm-hmm. We are 2 generations away from critical mass. And all it takes is that the current generation of students to grow up, get in the professional workforce, and have kids and raise them on the things that they were fans of. It's how baseball grew. It's how basketball grew. It's how rugby and all those other sports grow and sustain.
Cornhole grew.
But in all seriousness, all we need is time. All we need to do is ensure that our products get better, our opportunities become more authentic, accessibility remains open, and monetization remains enough to us to continue to what we're doing and grow.
First, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, so my name is Caitlin. I'm a part of Farmingdale State College's Esports Club. I am captain of the Valorant Green Team. I am a second semester sophomore at Farmingdale State College, and I'm 19 years old.
Okay. Do you like Farmingdale so far?
Yeah, it's really great. The program I'm in is very specialized, and it's not offered that often in the East Coast, so it's pretty nice. I enjoy it.
And what's your major?
My major is aerospace professional pilot degree.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Thank you.
So, is this your first time on an esports team?
No, so I've been a part of the Valorant team for 2 semesters, and this is my 3rd semester, and it's my first time ever being a captain.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about what it's like being a captain?
So a lot of times I'm organizing the team, making sure everyone is properly set for upcoming games, um, getting scrims for our team, and kind of just making sure everyone is there, present, and possible, and able to play the games that we're gonna, you know, be participating in. We're participating in 2 leagues this semester, so it's kind of hectic.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, definitely. I can see that. How is it different for you as a player versus as a captain? Do you feel a lot of responsibility?
I basically have the responsibility of choosing who, really plays, what type of characters everyone's playing, and what positions and roles we are all doing, as well as being there not only as a team member, but also being seen as in a leadership role and having that sort of respect there, and being able to delegate everyone's role in the team. So it's definitely a lot more different, and my voice is most definitely heard. So I like it. I like being a captain.
Yeah, that's really good. What games do you play, or what is your main game? I know you mentioned Valorant.
Right. So I play Valorant, but I started off with Counter Strike, and I really always have been interested in FPSs. So that background has always been there. So my transfer onto Valorant was pretty easy.
That's cool. What have you done to improve yourself in game over time?
So one thing, for my teams especially, I have open communication where we're able to really give our constructive criticism without taking offense. And me as a captain, especially it being my first semester, I find it really important that everyone is able to come to me and communicate like, "Hey, Kate, I don't know how I feel about doing this," or "I want my voice to be heard about this specific thing." And just basically taking into consideration everyone's voice and having that open line of communication is really helpful, and that's something I find really important.
Okay. Do you carry that strategy into your everyday life as well, would you say?
Yeah, communication is really important to me, especially in aviation with crew members. You're always trying to communicate properly and efficiently to get the assigned goal completed, and that works in video games as well as in aviation. So I feel like it transfers very well, and I put my 100% effort in everything I do. I put 100% in the team, the leagues that we're participating in, communicating with opposing teams that we might be going against. All those things I take it really important and can transfer it very well into everyday life.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you think about CECC and just competing in general?
It's a lot of fun, and we're so grateful for the opportunity to participate. And this is something that every single member of our team has said. We've never had the opportunity to really compete in a fashion where it's not only fun, we're able to make friends, talk to other people from different schools. It's just an amazing opportunity and something we would love to participate in the future as well.
Yeah, we're really happy you feel that way. When your team is competing with other teams, are there any specific teams or schools that your team kind of looks out for?
I think we all have the mentality of it doesn't matter who the other team is. We're gonna put 100% effort, and we're going to maintain our mental, even if the other team is full of radiance. It's not something we're gonna keep in mind because we will be able to beat them. Fingers crossed.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really good mindset. As you probably know, March is Women's History Month, and you being a woman in esports, how do you think that has an effect on esports? What does it mean to you to be a woman in esports and as a captain? Just could you talk about that for a little bit?
Coming into being a woman in aviation, which is already really a niche type of thing, especially women in video games, things like that. It's just we're kind of the minority, and keeping that in mind, a lot of times you have to represent yourself properly because you are representing such a small community. So I feel proud and honored to be a part of the women's in aviation as well as being a woman in esports, and it's a lot of fun, and just understanding that us girls are here too, and we're as good as everyone else, and that we have the opportunity to be a leader in esports, and that we're equal to everyone. It's really important to keep that in mind because we're here even though you might not see us too often.
I know you said as captain your voice is heard, but when you first started to be a captain, did everyone take you seriously being a girl? Was that respect there, or did you struggle with that?
So I would say initially when I first got on the team, I was put onto a support role, and everyone knows that women normally play healer when it comes to going into any game, and now I'm playing more of a controller based or sentinel, which is very crucial for holding down sites. So by playing that now and then having those semesters in my backpack of experience, everyone has treated me with respect, and uh, I would hope it stays that way. And either way, I demand respect because I reciprocate that respect to everyone else. So it's definitely difficult, especially for girls starting out. That toxicity is there, especially even now whenever I play a game without my team there. That toxicity is there just for being a girl. But as long as you don't have that mindset of them affecting you because you're better than them anyway, it's fine.
Definitely. Well, that's good. I'm happy that you're getting respect that you deserve, and that's awesome. And thank you so much again for your time, and I really appreciate it.
No problem. I just wanted to add that our esports club as well, started only with 13 students and two teams in 2019. And now we're up to 19 different teams and over 350 students in to date in 2021. Like that progress is there. And even if you have such a if you think that things are so small, realize that a community is there for you, especially being a female in esports. That community is there for you.
Definitely. That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I really appreciate it again and your time. Just thank you overall. That's awesome. Keep
No
doing what you're
problem.
doing.
Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
opportunity.
Of course. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Hey guys, KTAD here, and just like that, another season of ECAC Esports regular season play has come to a close. Over the last 8 weeks, we saw a crazy amount of hype competition from some of the best collegiate esports has to offer, and as usual, you guys have me one last time to break it all down and to show you guys what we thought were some of the top plays this week. And honestly, guys, I don't have much more to say. Just check it out because I think we've got some really incredible clips here. Let's take a look. In our opening clip, it's Professor Dementium with a straight boot off the stage to kick things off for Bloomfield.
Got himself one. Kick back off stage though. Triple air dodge is going to be that Bowser. Again.
Welcome, everybody, to the ESportsU channel. My name is Bass from the Past, joined alongside by none other than Ben K. And Ben, we are here for the ESportsU Campus Cup featuring Fortnite East Heat number 3. Changing this one up a little bit here, though. We're going to have a bit of a different format than usual. Rather than the standard Battle Royale, we're doing POI fights, which, honestly, I couldn't really be more happy with this one. POI fights are something we don't see every day. When they do happen, they can get kind of spicy.
I mean, off spawn fights, it's that big ticket item, right? That's what everyone's looking for. You have to be versatile. You have to be able to adapt on the fly. So these players, regardless of how much they might have practiced their previous drop spots, if you're not familiar with the main POIs on the island currently, you're going to have problems. Not to mention with the current season, with everything constantly changing, you're really going to have to adapt on the fly.
You got to be very adaptable to pretty much everything that we're going to be seeing here, especially considering these fights could last a minute, these fights could last 10. It all kind of depends on how the teams are going to play up against each other. It is standard build Fortnite, though. No zero build here, so these players are going to have a little bit of time to create themselves some structures and create some safety, if you will. The reality is, though, is that you're going for eliminations above all else. Eliminations are going to be what basically determine this entire thing here. Each elimination is worth a single point, and when we only have a couple of teams dropping on said POIs, every single one of those eliminations becomes all the more valuable. You had a theory that we might start to see a team pull away after a game or two here, but we're going to hope that this one stays close. If a team does want to try and sort of dominate here, what advice would you give them to kind of securing their spot in a POI the minute they touch down?
I mean, easily the number one tip I'd give any player in this lobby is the moment you get into that lobby, figure out and analyze your drop spots so you know where you're going to be landing the moment that bus launches. Because if you look at a classic POI like Tilted Towers, you can very easily already have dialed in your drop spot to make sure you have the best glide possible, because if you can secure one of those larger buildings or even the blimp that has the vault within it, you're going to have so much more loot than any of the other players within the lobby, which is that big advantage you need to really push yourself through to pick up those 2 initial elims.
Well, let's see. Can any of these teams find those early elims and find themselves the win as we drop into what I would say is probably the most classic of all POIs in Fortnite? Tilted Tower is going to be the home for our first battle here as we get underway with the Campus Cup East round number 3. Man, I'm excited to see how this one goes. Again, Tilted, one of those places where I really do have to emphasize. This feels like it could be over in a minute, or we could see teams just kind of camp in buildings waiting for their opportunity.
I mean, absolutely, right? When you have that standard BR match, all these players need to make sure they not only have the weaponry to take these engagements, they have to have the materials to back it up, because when you are such close quarters, it doesn't matter how good your aim is. If your piece control is on target, you'll be good to go, as we do see an initial knock come through onto Lethal Illusion. So this player, Lethal SMG, is now playing as a solo.
Oh boy, that's going to be hard for SMG here. They've got a decent loadout as it stands right now, but unfortunately they're going to have to try and reunite with their teammate before they end up being fully eliminated here. And again, that's one of the biggest issues when you do drop into a POI is unless you're keeping close proximity with your teammate, anybody else around you can try and pick off one of the two, and then you're fighting a 1v2 battle the rest of the time. Unfortunately for their teammate here in Lethal Illusion, they just ended up dropping on a duo of Big Riv and their teammate. So now SMG going to have to do it by themselves entirely. I will say, of any time that I would bet on a 1v2, it's probably going to be in a POI battle like this. If you can try and just wait until the other two duos fight off against each other, maybe you can get a pick in here and there and grab a couple of points before you exit out of this game.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the name of the game, right? Look for the third party if you go down as a solo. I mean, not to mention Tiki, one of those players that we've seen time and time again within the collegiate space, knows exactly how to handle these high-pressure situations. So when they're paired with a player like Big Riv here, not to mention this loadout, we're in a really good spot to pick up some big points, and they already have that initial eliminations. But again, the name of the game is a solo. You have to play as a third party, and it seems like Lethal SMG is now starting to get singled out as you see that other duo start to put some pressure on, but Lethal is quick to disengage and move and try and reposition themselves. But this duo is hot on pursuit.
Oh, yeah, they're looking to immediately get into the building and try and take over. I think they know exactly where SMG is, and unfortunately for them, just trying to hide as it stands right now. Hezi playing this one slowly. I think they got a glimpse of SMG, so yeah, a couple of shots going to be fired off. The issue for SMG, though, they're falling right into the hands of the other opponents in this lobby. Shot from every angle. Who's going to get the elim, though? Could it be Hezi and Stig's team, or is Big Riv and their duo and Tiki going to turn from out of nowhere and finds that elimination? No, indeed. It's Stig's team going to get the elimination on the board. Again, those are valuable because that is a point going to Stig and Hezi.
Now, especially, make that even. Now, equivalently, both these duos coming into the game with 0 points. Now, with 1 elimination there, Big Rip tries to get up close and personal, wins the SMG fight. 32 HP, but has the initial knock to make that a 2v1 situation. So Big Rip looking to pop some time, find it, get that med kit off, and Tiki continues to apply pressure, but Stig has the materials. They're slowly dwindling away to try and move back towards the high ground, and does just that, as Big Rip still on the low ground trying to pop this med kit.
Yeah, this is smart. You do not want to try and overextend here in a 2v1. If you go down after you've already got the numbers advantage, all you're doing is leaving your duo in a horrible position. That's a good position, though. Tiki going to get the finish off there. That's another point going in favor. That's now 2 out of the potential 3 that they could be picking up. This is a big duo, or big battle here between Stig and Big Rib. Whoa. Big Rib barely any health, and that's going to even this one out. Stig needs to confirm, though, just to try and get some extra points, and they will not. Tiki and Big Rib claim Tilted Towers.
Played perfectly there. Big Riv, as they were singled out, there's a solo. I mean, you saw it, right? Wasn't quite able to pick up the VR, but Tiki was there to back up the teammate to pick up the initial VR. And I gotta say, for game number 1, you couldn't ask for something solid there. But regardless, we saw 2 duos. Even 2v2 situation, both teams were able to pick up 2 eliminations to go off spawn. So the lead isn't going to be anything that isn't surmountable.
At this point, there's a little bit of time, especially considering even the first team that ended up going into that one, it's better for them to have the elimination split on both sides rather than the one team just clean up the entire lobby. If that player that had gone down against the against the team that had dropped in that one tower and tilted, I believe it was the Big Riv and Tiki duo there, if they had gotten that elimination, then finished off the duo, and then gotten the other duo, that's a 4-point lead to everybody else in the lobby having literally none. Instead, it ends up getting split a couple of different ways. 3 to one side, 1 to the other, keeping this battle close. So especially for the duo and the lethal duo that went down off spawn there, they got a chance now in our second game. And that second game, by the way, we're heading over to Cloudy Condos. We're switching up the POIs here. And for those that are curious, the 5 POIs we're going to be playing on the day: Tilted Towers, Cloudy Condos, Greasy Grove, Shiny Sound, and finally finishing off with the Chrome Crossroads. We got 5 total games here out of 5 completely different POIs. And Ben, honestly, that's going to make this one rather exciting. If this is your normal drop spot, you're going to be pretty happy. If you're not familiar with a drop spot, go study a drop map. It's probably going to help you out a little bit.
Yeah, boot up Fortnite.gg. Go take a look. Find out where the chest spawns are. Figure it out. Because we're moving over towards Cloudy Condos, like you mentioned. And this season, the most stacked POI, the most loot located around this POI, not to mention so much passive mobility with those balloons, so those redeploy spots. So these players really have a lot of verticality they can play here, either below the POI or even way up above. They want to sit on top of those balloons. So I'm really expecting it for this time around to be lengthened out more, and these players start to play their space. Because you saw it there. A lot of mistakes. They're going to get a little bit of feel out for how these lobbies are going to go. And really, the recurring factor you saw in most of these duos is by the end of the round, none of them had materials. They did not take enough time to farm up. So I'm expecting this time around, a lot of these players are going to take their time.
It's not just the materials for me, it's also the health resources as well. We didn't really see a lot of shields being distributed there. It feels like both of the teams need to try and work on their health resources, because that is one of these things where you have 2 ways to approach this. Either it's the run and gun, immediately dive into a box mentality and try and get that elimination as quickly as you can, or alternatively, it is try to elongate the fight. Stretch it out until eventually you see your opponent make a mistake and capitalize once that mistake does happen. Over-eagerness is something we've seen many times, especially in the collegiate space, of where duos don't necessarily think too cleverly and they charge into a box, unfortunately find themselves against 2 players who have SMGs and shotguns, close range weapons to be able to take you down within a second. So you have to try and take these battles rather strategically. I do think that one was a little bit accelerated. Seeing that initial player go down kind of then turns the entire lobby in from the sort of slow-paced strategic gameplay into, all right, we got to get this one going right here and now, otherwise the other team's going to run away with the points early on. So you want to try and take this, like I said, strategically. Play this one as carefully as you can. I do also think we're probably going to see some more long-range weapons being used here in this second game. I really do feel like it's something that you could see in a battle like this when you know that you aren't necessarily going to be third-partied as quickly. Being able to take sniper shots from a distance is absolutely a viable strategy, and definitely in this current meta where the sniper is so powerful.
100%. I mean, really, I think part of the reason we saw these players try and aggress early on is they understand the format. When you're looking at the difference from standard pro FNCS circuit to the collegiate scene, these players have been playing for years. They know how a tournament is going to go down. They look at a format, they're able to adjust their strategy accordingly and then play into that. And they know that it's only going to be eliminations for points, so they're playing into that whole scenario. They're trying to get that initial team wiped off, because as soon as you can get those 2 points on the board, you know, regardless, the other team might not be able to carry or at least make up that lost ground going into the later matches. And so far, they're doing a great job of it, but still, I do think Cloudy Condos is going to start to shake things up.
I agree with you on that one as well. It does feel like Cloudy Condos is going to be a much different game overall here. One of the biggest things that I think that Tilted does provide is the highs and lows in terms of elevation versus Cloudy Condos, where we're going to see, technically a highs and lows of elevation, but there's a lot more densely compact highs, if that makes sense. A lot of the condos are right next to each other versus Tilted, where there is a little bit of a spread between them, and there are the streets that you have to try and navigate. Feels like one of these teams could try and hold on to that high ground and immediately hold on to it for the rest of the round. We're going to have to find out, though. We should be joining into the game and hopping off the battle bus in a moment or two here, but I do think we have to kind of highlight our front runners, if you will, from that first round. Tiki and Big Riv played that one well. I have to give credit to Big Riv on not getting over eager. He was down to, I think it was 4 health total. Could have just fully dived on that fight, but instead opted to play it a little bit slower, waited for Tiki to get involved in the action, and although he does go back down again, he's able to do enough damage on the opponent to where Tiki can finish them off. It's good to play as a duo here. I don't think we can overstate how important it is to make sure you have both of your players up when you get into your fight. Speaking of getting into the fight, let's get into game number 2 here for the ESPORTSU Campus Cup East Heat number 3 and game number 2. That's a whole lot of numbers and a whole lot of words here, Ben. We're going to have to try and figure out a way to maybe summarize that just a little bit.
Hey, complicated game needs a complicated title as we move in to Cloudy Condos, one of the most complicated POIs. I mean, like you mentioned, right? It's so much more compact, especially within this new season. You kind of have that mid-ground layer within the POI itself, not to mention it's all elevated by the balloons. Then you can play on top of the roofs of the building, or you can even play on top of the balloons. There's so many different angles you can choose to attack these players from that it really comes down to strategy. And Tiki and Big Riv coming off a hot VR in game number 1 are going to be very confident here, lining up this drop, making sure they secure themselves a nice little spot here within Cloudy Condos, and they're looking really solid.
I do think that Stig and Hezi, though, are going to have a decent shot here. My question is where do these players land? The big thing about Cloudy Condos for me right now is that it is a relatively large POI. If you go off to the left where it's still technically the POI, not necessarily the same sort of thing, but the Cloudy Condos, again, it really is one of these things where the elevation changes are what make this such a weird map. So much of it is so high in the sky that if you do fall to that lower level, being able to get back up to said higher elevation is going to be a rather difficult task. But right now, the task is just loot on up. Find yourself something solid, and again, I really do want to see more teams prioritize those health resources. In my opinion, that's what separated our top 2 teams in round number 1.
100%. And there's so much extra utility around Cloudy Condo with the fact that there's coolers, there's these kegs lying around the POI, that there's so much for these players to be able to loot up quickly if they can get their hands on a key or two. There are these hologram chests that are located around the POI as well. So I do think this time around there'll be a lot more healing items kind of scattered through these players' inventories. But obviously, it seems like so far, there's not going to be an initial knock from any team on the board. So it's going to take their time to loot on up exactly like we predicted.
It's going to be a little bit slower of a pace here, I think, in this game. The big thing about Tilted Towers, again, is that it's such a familiar POI to so many teams that they're not necessarily going to try and feel it out as much as they're just going to get right on into the action. Speaking of right on into the action, it does kind of look like Stig and Hezi are going to go right up against Tiki and Riv here. They're relatively close against each other. Meanwhile, the lethal duo, they're just kind of looting up, like we said, get their shield, getting themselves a quick keg to throw on down. And there's the fight that I was talking about, though. Big Riv very quickly drained up their health. They have some resources on them, but after using all of their chug splashes, it actually does not work out. Tiki tries to back him up, but all he does is get in the way of Hezi. Hezi gonna get to confirm, and there's their second point of the day.
And that's going to take out one of the game 1 winners here, as Big Riv is barely able to escape with their lives to be able to pop some of these chug splashes and heal on back up. Only 130 materials in Big Riv's inventory compared to Hezi's 320. So a lot of these players need to take their time. Big Riv so far doing exactly what you should do as a solo in this situation. Just kind of wait, try and play for the third party like we mentioned in that first game. And Lethal SMG and Lethal Illusions looking to make up that lost ground in game number 1. You're doing a great job of playing the high ground. Looking down, trying to farm up as many matches as possible. However, Lethal SMG, only 9 builds in inventory, so needs to get a move on.
Yeah, they definitely need to make sure that they've got a decent amount of builds here, especially considering, like we mentioned before, Cloudy Condos raised above the rest as it stands with these balloons that just continually float them in the air. You drop down from that initial elevation, you need a way to get back on up, and builds are probably going to be your best way to do that without being shot out of the sky by every other squad around you. It does look like Big Riv might be getting a little bit more aggressive with this one, which is probably a good thing for Stig and Hezi here, as they don't need to get aggressive. They've already found themselves a point in this game. They've cut the deficit down from 3-1 to 3-2 instead. So now what they do, loot on up and get ready for the fight. They know that they can take a 2v1, and if they have to take the 2v2, I'd have to imagine that they're betting on themselves to win that as well. Feels like Stig and Hezi are having a really big redemption round here in this second game, and it's not necessarily that they needed a redemption round. I think that they're just kind of trying to prove they are more than what happened in Tilted Towers.
Oh, no, absolutely. And you just got to try and build on that lead and cut down that lead from Big Riv, and they're doing a great job. However, Lethal SMG and Illusions have a even bigger lead to gain on, so they need to get a move on and take this 2v2 situation, because when it comes down to it, the only reason these players aren't fighting at this current time is because they're taking the opportunity to farm up as many materials as possible to be best equipped when the fight does present itself. And Big Riv really doesn't want to show themselves, doesn't want to be farming or exposing themselves too much. Kind of see him here playing the right-hand peek, doing a great job to get a kind of bird's eye view on the rest of the POI. Does spot Hezzy there in the distance, so tries to grab the chug splash and then quickly move their way back into cover. Maybe put some shots down target, but no, Big Riv still doing a fantastic job of playing as a solo, just trying to play things out.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they're also able to find themselves a decent amount of shields at this point. Unfortunately, the health items were looking a bit dire considering how quickly they were drained to their health. Speaking of drained to their health, though, Hezzy and Stig looking to do it again against the lethal duo. Lucian, not gonna build at all. Gonna actually just kind of wait for the duo to start entering into their box. Immediately, they do build something up here, and Hezzy almost got exposed. The good thing, SMG gonna be trying to hold off Hezzy and Stig from the alternate angle. You can see both of these teams, they're playing this a lot more patiently than they did in Tilted Towers. Neither one of them wants to overexpose. They both recognize that they are the only duos standing, so if they can hold on to this, they most likely win the round.
SMG and Illusions playing oddly passive, it seems like, considering that it's only elimination points. But when you saw Stig and Hezzy try and put the pressure on there and look for some piece control, they actually end up winning the kind of shotgun battle when it came to their up-close engagements, as Hezzy continues to force the right-hand piece, doing a great job of playing this peanut butter edit, but SMG fires back. A 50 tag in return to try and level the playing field, as SMG is going to try and use their space effectively. Pop a mini, heal back up, and now Big Riv starting to get involved. Up close, Evo Chrome shotgun will pick up another elimination just like that.
And there it is. There's the split that they were trying to avoid oh so desperately here. Big Riv going down to the lethal duo. That's their first points of the night. So now Hezzy and Stig, if they want to try and surpass their opponents who were able to get 3 points in the last round, they need to finish off both of these people just to try and get to that 4-point total. It's not going to be easy here, though. And again, something we didn't see in the first round is I do feel like if either one of these duos sees a single person go down, they're immediately thirsting that elimination. There's no reason to let them stay around, considering the fact that every elim is a point. You want to, at minimum, guarantee yourself 1/2 of the duo you are fighting. Although maybe 2 parts of the duo would be a little bit better here. You can see Hezzy hunting as much as they can. And the big thing that we've been talking about time and time again here is that the lethal duo don't necessarily have an overwhelming amount of builds here. They need to be careful. If they waste all of their resources, they're going to be completely exposed.
Absolutely fine their time, though. Illusions and SMG playing the low ground really well. And that rapid fire SMG, Illusions has that ammo to kind of continually put on this pressure to these players just above them, as that level up from Hezzy on that Evo Chrome rifle just absolutely shreds through these builds like butter, but does not have the ammunition to actually back up this pressure. Going to end up running out here. Only 1 clip left, as Hezzy still now has to swap over to that rapid fire SMG, and Illusions and SMG just still hanging out in the low ground, and so far they have a complete advantage over this team above them.
It really does feel like somehow, some way, the lethal duo have just outlasted Hezzy and their duo and Stig at this moment. It just feels like they've been waiting for them to press into the box, and unfortunately for the duo on the outside looking in, they can't quite find an opening, and every time they do find even a little bit of one, all they are met with is hailfire from the other team, and it's pushed right back out to restart their battle again. Speaking of restart the battle, Hezzy recognizing that the duo is going to need a decent amount of builds if they want to try and survive this fight. So what do? They're looking for ammo, looking for materials, and honestly, I think the ammo is going to be the more important part of this one as well, considering the fact that Hezzy does not have a lot to work with. Although, neither does their duo Stig here. Maybe 50 shots total and almost no build. I wonder if he's just trying to buy time and give enough time to where eventually Hezzy can get back involved in the fight.
I mean, that's exactly what it seems like. Stig almost playing as a solo here, and Illusions and SMG just stuck down here below, and their shield is slowly going to be taken away as they take these kind of quick box fights. So if Illusions and SMG don't start to overextend a little bit and look for some extra loot, they're going to start to have problems, because Stig and Hezzy can just loot up the POI, take these fights one at a time, and will have no issues as far as loot, considering they have this whole duo in control.
They really are in control right now, and it feels like both of these duos, though, are kind of just fighting for said control rather than fighting for the fight, if that makes sense. They're waiting until they get enough control over this box fight that they can have an opening and they can get involved. You're going to get involved here. Finally, the fight does arrive, and the Illusion's going to fire off a decent amount of shots and damage Hezzy enough to pull him away. Stig now going to try and hold off what should be the oncoming offensive attack here, as Illusions is pushing further out. They're trying to get high up, but they recognize the fact that Stig right above them is going to try and push them back as much as possible. It feels like we're in such a stalemate right now. Neither side wants to overplay their hands because they know that as soon as one of these two players goes down, that's basically a round.
100%. I mean, when it comes down to it, when one player gets knocked, change the tides. Lethal Illusions, low HP, 23. Hezzy on 150 in return. So now no players knocked, but a lot of damage traded back and forth. And this is where that scenario we talked about just moments ago is going to start to come into play. Hezzy, they can just continue to loot this POI for extra shield, and Illusions and SMG are just stuck down below. You see, only able to return to 150 HP, while Hezzy back up to 200.
Now, unfortunately, the big issue of when you do kind of hold control over a single area is that everything outside of that single area is basically in control of Hezzy and Stig here. They're playing a lot more movement phase. They are running this entire POI as it stands right now. The issue is they cannot find an entrance into this little fortress that the Lethal Duo have built. The one thing that they are working, though, is they are making them use resources. The Lethal Duo at this moment only have 7 small shields to work with, and as soon as they are out of that, they're basically out of health items for their blue health. That's not going to be fun by any stretch of the imagination, although this could be not so fun here, as Hezzy has dropped very quickly of all of their health. They've got a big pot on them, but they've got no health items. This could be the turning point here. Is this go time now for the duo that's been stuck inside?
Illusions and SMG have the complete health advantage here. Both players, it seem like, we're on 50 HP. They need to make their way towards the high ground as Illusions starts to do so. Moves up to the high ground, 190 into 2. Will take the high ground now. Perhaps the pressure down using that rapid fire SMG, but needs some backup from the teammate. Hezzy, though, trying to contest. The high ground retake. Vikings and Creative still able to take it from them, so Illusions is forced down. Stig continues to pressure the wall, so now they're having to take the box fight, but now not within the comfort of the building down below. They're now in a build battle.
Oh, that was impressive, though. You can see Hezzy and Stig recognize that the build battle is about to commence, so they immediately reclaim the high ground and do not let this team gain any sort of height advantage on them. It's smart. They recognize that as long as they can just lock these guys into a box for long enough, eventually they will make a mistake. It's a little bit of a mistake out of Hezzy there, though. They exposed themselves too much, and unfortunately, without any sort of health that they can now refresh with, they've got a flopper on them, but that is all. They're going to have to try and take this fight a little bit more strategically. This random damage that they've been taking has not worked out, and that won't either. Stig going down to SMG, and now Hezzy, after a very long battle, has got to try and clutch this one up 2v1.
Hezzy, no shield as well. Trying to use the right-hand peek, but that rapid-fire SMG from Illusions has been putting in work all game and continues to put in work to pick up 3 eliminations and the VR here in game number 2 at Cloudy Condos.
That is a much needed turnaround from that team, and it also keeps the games close as well. That's 3-2 as it stands at the moment in terms of elimination points. And you got to think about this one and look back to the initial drop here. Tiki and their duo and Big Riv could have run away with this thing had they gotten even a single elimination, but instead they go down early and all of a sudden they leave way for that Lethal Duo to get back into this game. And unfortunately for Stig and their duo, they couldn't quite get that one done. It has to feel like that duo had a chance there. When you see that early elimination, when you see the duo break up and you finally nail down a team into a small little box like that, you cannot let them win the health battle. You have resources all around you. You need just one person locking them into that small little box and the other people just kind of going around grabbing as many resources as they can. Instead, they got over eager. Unfortunately, they were running out of health items, and rather than retreating to try and regain their health, they just doubled down and kept pushing on that box. Man, it felt like that over eagerness was the downfall of that duo there, but at the same time, I can't complain because now Lethal have got a shot in this one.
I mean, what else could you ask for, right? You want competition, and they're giving us competition. Now the scores are close. And once again, you were talking about how they kind of won that battle just by being overeager and just overextending, using that piece control not to their best ability. They played the right-hand peaks well, but it seemed like every single time they tried to take the aim duel, they just weren't coming out on top. Regardless of having control of the rest of the POI and all the loot that's left there, they still weren't utilizing it to the ability they possibly could. SMG and Illusions had no intent of leaving the bottom of that building. They just wanted to hang out down below, farm out their materials, and then try and take those bloom battles, because after the first couple of times they took the trades back and forth, they're like, hey, we're winning these. There's absolutely no reason for us to move from this. And once they broke both the players' shield and took them down to 50 HP, that's the exact moment to go up to high ground. They did just that to pick up the VR.
And they played that one very well. Strategy really starting to become pretty integral to every one of these fights. It really goes to show you why we said that in game number 1, you could see the fight for Tilted Tower be rather quick, rather over within an instant there. But in the second one, as they recognize that it's going to be a little bit more of a long haul, strategy becomes even more important. Rather than just being able to hit your shots, you got to make sure that when you are hitting your shots, you are not overcommitting or not undercommitting. I feel like there were a couple of times where we did see the duo of Illusions and SMG trapped in a bit of a vulnerable space, but rather than dive in to try and put on that pressure, they waited a bit too long. If you have pressure over a team like that and they are locked into a box like that, even if you don't necessarily have the health benefits, you need to be able to send it at a certain point. You cannot play this little bit of passivity of where it's like, okay, do I commit? Do I not commit? Do I sort of in between? You either have to full send it or you have to not send it at all. And unfortunately for the duo there, they kind of got stuck in no man's land so many different times that they never really found an opening. The good thing is that we've still got a long day ahead of us here. That is only game number 2 of 5. The next POI that we're heading over to is going to be Greasy Grove. And Greasy Grove is an interesting one because it feels like over the last couple seasons has been one of the most volatile POIs in terms of its changes. We've seen so many different movements within this POI to where I have a feeling a couple of these guys are going to be dropping on this one, and it's going to be kind of unfamiliar territory if they haven't used it as a drop spot in a couple seasons.
I mean, when it comes down to Greasy Grove, there really aren't a lot of options for materials. These players really have to play the buildings well. And with the new changes coming this season, with the kind of fungi overgrowth, with the mushrooms lifting up sections of the buildings, it gives you that elevation change to do just that. When you don't have the materials to back it up, you have to kind of turn on that zero build muscle in your brain and really start to use your angles and those head peaks on top of these buildings. And if you're not talented in zero build, you're going to get punished at this POI, especially when you have 3 teams contesting. There really is not a lot of loot and a lot of mats to go around. So these players are going to have to play together hand in hand and take these angles appropriately.
Well, let's find out if they can do that. We're going to be hopping off the battle bus and into the action in a minute or two here, just making sure that we got everything set up for these 3 duos. I'm very excited. I do feel like this is going to be kind of a turning point here. The first 2 games have been very close. Let's see if anybody can pull away in this third game. I really got to hope that now that they've had a chance to warm up here, maybe Illusions and SMG can really start popping off in this lobby and find themselves the momentum from that second game. But at the same time, you never really know. I really do think that we have to emphasize how much it is that if you are familiar with the POI, it's going to help you a ton. It's why we start off with Tilted Towers. Everyone's familiar with Tilted Towers. It's one of the most long-standing POIs in all of Fortnite. And yes, it has been taken out before, and then it gets brought back. It gets taken out, and then it gets brought back. It seems like we can never get rid of Tilted Towers here. No matter how hard everybody tries, it's always going to be a familiar POI versus somewhere like Greasy Grove and Cloudy Condos where it has its moments, but not necessarily as consistent. So I'm excited to see if these duos are going to be prepared for what we're going to be seeing here in this third game. Like I said, hopping off the battle bus in just a couple of moments. But Ben, I got to ask you, if you're betting on any team from here on out, has anybody really caught your eye within these first couple of rounds?
You know, Tiki and Big Rib had a really solid game 1, and I got to say, I'm expecting them to come out big here in game number 3 just because of the abilities I saw them when they actually had materials. I'm interested to see this time around at Greasy Grove, they kind of play their space a little bit more and farm the buildings. Maybe if they claim that main kind of taco shop building in the right corner of Greasy Grove, there is a basement in that building they can farm up and take their time a little bit. If they do just that, I expect big things from them. But otherwise, there is that kind of X factor. You really do have no idea what to expect when it comes down to this POI.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to expect for this moment, but we're going to have to see as we are hopping off the battle bus and into the action. Feels like I said, this is going to be a pivotal point here. It's basically the halfway point for the night, and if you do let yourself get too far behind, it's going to be a problem. 2 rounds in a row, they've finished second place. Can Hezi and Stig finally find themselves more than just a single elimination and actually finish off one of the duos? Finishing your fights, not necessarily an easy thing, but it's going to be necessary when you're in a POI battle like this. Game number 3, Greasy Grove is officially underway.
You see it here, the difference in drops from a lot of these teams. Illusions and SMG have probably the best drops here just in front of this other duo. It's to manage their elevation properly. And doing just that, seems like they're going to go ahead and section off, or at least plan to land at the taco stand, the main building here at Greasy Grove, with the most loot to go around and that natural high ground position with the being positioned on top of this mushroom in the middle of Greasy Grove, while Tiki and Big Riv try and claim the left side. Some more mushrooms, a little bit more open space here with the kind of puddles of water on this left side of the POI. So Stig and Hezi, not exactly the best drops in the world, so they're going to have to take what they can get.
Unfortunately, that's kind of what it is here. When you don't necessarily get yourself the best drop, all you really got to do is make the adaptations. And we've seen a lot of adaptations on the day. The question is are we going to finally see some long-range battles? Interesting out of Hezi here. He's going to drop on the outskirts of the Greasy Grove rather than try and take the fight head-on. Not the worst idea. My only concern, if you're doing that and not coordinating with your teammate, you're basically leaving them to the pigs here, as everybody else is going to be absolutely battling through the mud, and you're just kind of leaving them by their lonesome. It's a bold call. Maybe it'll pay off. Right now, Stig's just got to try and stay alive.
Doing a good job. Tiki playing their angles, looking to see or at least identify where the players have actually landed. Try and figure out what's been looted, what hasn't been looted, where can we rotate through to try and farm some of these materials. And I think I mentioned it before the game started. There wouldn't be a lot of mats to go around. You see it now. Tiki, only 111 builds. Try and pull them through here. No minis, has a big pot in inventory, so at least that 150 health potential, but still trying to stretch things out a little bit to find those mini shields that everyone wants to try and get their hands on early game. However, though, Illusions and SMG looking very healthy.
Yeah, they look very good right now. I think that they finally did kind of find their form after the first game. The first game, not going as they were hoping for. I believe it was Illusion in particular who ended up dropping on one of the duos in Tiki and Big Riv, and then from there on out, they kind of had to hope that maybe their duo could clutch up with at least a single elimination, but instead, they find nothing. They do find a comeback in game number 2, and I think that's going to be a big one for them, but at the same time, the night is long. We still got 3 more POIs, this one included in that list that they're going to have to fight through. And again, with the games being so close, 3-3-2 right now, a single elimination separating all of these squads, basically. If anybody is able to get a clean house here, get 4 eliminations, take out both of the duos they are fighting, this will be a huge pull away for them here in this game.
This is really going to be that halfway point, the decision maker for a lot of these teams. We've got some interesting POIs coming up that could shake things up, but however, right now, these players have to manage Greasy Grove. See a crack coming in onto Stig in this SMG and Illusions duo as Tiki and Big Riv went down early in game number 2, but once again trying to get aggressive early on, now claiming that high ground position. Not a lot of materials to go around. However, it looks like they're going to identify this duo towards the left side and look for that double spray, or at least to close the distance, as Illusions is singled out in the open. Needs to use materials or at least claim that right-hand peak as Tiki and Big Riv is going to take the high ground and try and pressure it down.
Oh boy, it's a problem for Illusions. He's scrambling to try and get back into the house where he knows his teammate is, but unfortunately he's now given a ton of real estate to Tiki and Big Riv here. You can now just kind of wait for their opportunity, wait for an opening to get involved, and you can see Illusions trying to turn that entire building into buildable walls that they can try and edit. Although at the same time, Tiki recognizing the third party could be very viable as well. Stig and Hezi from across the way here in Greasy Grove going to fire off a couple of shots. And this is the one issue of being the initiator. If you do initiate and you're not able to move quickly enough to get that elimination, all you really do is invite fights from other players within this game.
These players utilizing the shield bubble. Seen a lot of people pick it up, but nobody using it quite yet. So it's good to see some of these players, which is useful. When you have players like Tiki and Big Riv that are built up layers above where your actual position is, this shield bubble will buy you time to farm up, but Tiki and Big Riv want to get involved. Now looking for the piece control, however, it will come through in the opposite way as Illusions will get the full box. SMG will trade through onto Tiki, so now Tiki's on the back foot, not realizing that Illusions is continuing to pressure on, but the third party will come through. One is wiped, SMG is eliminated, so Illusions is forced to take the 1v2.
Oh boy, and this one looking crazy all around. Somehow, some way, Illusion finds himself without a single elimination for his duo. Perfectly timed is the attack here out of Hezi and Stig. They find themselves with a huge round already. 2 eliminations on the board. 1 single elimination being stolen by Tiki and Big Riv. Can Illusion steal one himself? The answer is no. After not being able to finish off the duo in the last round, Stig and Hezi with a huge comeback here in round number 3.
And I had a inkling feeling that Greasy Grove was going to go quickly, but I didn't think it was going to go that quickly. We saw the 2v2 start to initiate, and it seemed like in a blink of an eye, the third party was there, cleaned up one and cleaned up the other solo. And once again, we saw it, right? 2 teams traded both elims, and then someone was able to wipe and come in and clean things up. However, we didn't see that final 2v2 scenario here. I mean, they played it perfectly to that timing to swoop in to pick up that final elimination onto Illusions. And Hezi, I mean, landing on the outskirts there to be able to farm up that wood served them well. Was able to use those materials to bridge the gap and try and close the distance, and they timed it perfectly.
Yeah, it really was very well timed. I have to give credit here to Big Riv and Tiki. They were at least able to sneak away with a single elimination, which is going to be big enough for them. Being able to get some sort of points on the board after having 0 points in the last round is going to show that they're still not down and out of this one yet. And, well, no one is at this point here. If I'm looking at the point total right here, Sting and Hezi currently finishing in first place with 5 total eliminations. Big Riv and Tiki are at 4, so they're right behind them. And, well, as if to keep it even closer, Illusions and SMG all the way at 3 points here. There are 2 points separating first and third. And the fact of the matter is that all of that can change within a round. The biggest round we have seen so far has been 3 points. We have yet to have a duo be able to wipe the rest of the lobby, which really goes to show you these have been anyone's game every time we drop into a POI.
I mean, absolutely. With the players averaging 3 points per game, really all it's going to take is that VR to push yourself back up regardless of where you are on the leaderboard. So it's anyone's game, and we've got two left, and some of the coolest POIs so far. Shiny Sound, that new change in that POI, that north side getting a new makeover, not to mention the close by tilted building, one of the best vaults in the game, and a lot of passive mobility. Again, with kind of a similar verticality of Cloudy Condos with a lot of compacted layers, but a little bit more spread out. You have the kind of ice cream shop that still has that compact layer system we saw at Cloudy, but then you have the normal kind of POI buildings that are still set up like a standard kind of drop spot.
It has been an interesting change here for Shiny Sound. It feels like so many times we have seen this POI in particular go through a ton of different renovations. I think one of my favorite parts about this is quite literally the contrast here. You've got a south side, which is more or less not untouched, but it's still standard Fortnite, standard what most of these buildings and POIs look like. And you go north, and it's all chromified. Everything is in chrome, and it makes it into such an interesting battle. This is where I'm going to start calling for it. I don't think it's likely, but I just kind of want it. Someone pull out the sniper here, because I feel like you're shooting across the water. You should be able to hit one good headshot and finish off a duo, and then that's enough to make your entire team go for a swim and start sending it to the other side. Again, I know it's not a guarantee. I just like seeing this. It does kind of make me happy that we finally get to see some of that water be involved in these fights. Could it actually be a big sort of pivot point? I do also think that, because if you are one of these duos, you see even the littlest inkling of a reason to try and run across the gap. If you get caught out in the water, you are screwed. There's no two ways about it. If somebody third parties while you're in the water, you are getting gunned down within a second. So you have to be very careful in an instance like that. But at the same time, we've seen that carefulness kind of go in its ebbs and flows. In certain games, we have seen very strategic, very slow-paced play, like we saw in the second game in Cloudy Condos, and then all of a sudden get to the third game in Greasy Grove, and all it took was one single elimination, and then everybody swarms like flies. So, Ben, I'm interested to see how this third game goes. Only time will tell. We're getting that third lobby set up, and then as soon as we are ready to go, we will hop on into the action. Right now, as it stands, like I said, 5, 4, and 3, the point total here. But the other more interesting thing, everybody has gotten a win so far. Game number 1 going to Big Riv and Tiki. Game number 2 going to Illusions and SMG. And game number 3 going to Stig and Hezi, meaning that, as it stands right now, the straight-up thing differentiating the teams is those elimination points. It has nothing to do with who's winning these rounds.
I mean, that's what you're looking for, right? That initial elimination. You see a lot of the time the team that's able to pick up that first elim on the lobby does pretty well. And especially now you mentioned the emergence of that sniper rifle and how you kind of want to see it in this round. If it's going to happen anywhere, Sleepy Sound is the way for it to go down. Just because, I mean, here, I say Sleepy Sound, Shiny Sound's the way to go down. Just because, I mean, you talk about how it's kind of split POI, right? You have that north side, you have that south side, which is traditionally, in a lot of these team events, you'll see this POI split by 2 separate teams in a general competitive kind of game. With these off-spawn fights, these players are forced to land, be contested on one of these sides of the POI, and generally the north side's not going to have as much loot. So if a player can get their hands on a sniper rifle on the north side, you could see a headshot snipe by any means, especially considering it's not nearly as compact as these other spots.
Well, we gotta hope so. As you guys can hear, we're hopping off the battle bus and into the action. I really do feel like this has got to be a big round for Tiki and Big Riv, though. After starting off with 3 eliminations and then finding themselves with 0 in the second game and then only 1 in the third, it feels like this team have kind of fallen off a little bit. And I'm not going to say entirely, but the big issue for them is that they're so solid off the start that as soon as they do get over-eager, it comes back to bite them. This is smart out of Stig, and I don't know if he's making Hezi do the same thing. Dropping in the POI, but just a little bit off to the right, one of the floating buildings here, and this could be huge, especially if they pick up a sniper rifle. You want to talk about long-range shots? That's exactly where you want to be.
That Tilted Towers building making its way over from Chrome Crossroads now towards Shiny Sound. Seems to be moving with the Chrome in certain instances here, but Big Riv posting up on top of the ice cream shot. Gets some shots on target onto this team on top of Fish Sticks building and Tilted building. So solid tags off spawn. We're not going to have Storm Surge this time around. So Big Riv just needs to focus on getting the materials up to par with the rest of the lobby and extra mini shields or any weaponry that you're going to need to take these fights.
Well, they're trying their best right now. It does look like there's going to be a little bit of a prep time here. One interesting thing to note, as you guys can see in the bottom right, no one landing on the north side of Sleepy Sound. Both teams opting to land on the bottom. Only team opting to land out to the side is going to be Stig and Hezi, who, honestly, initially, I called that a smart idea. Now I'm kind of worried for them because they're limited in their blue pool at this point here, Ben. All that they find in this one building is all that they're going to have to fight with.
Here's the thing, though, right? If you're looking at the Tilted building, it is one building. But it does have one of the biggest vaults in the game located at the bottom. So it comes down to that RNG to see if you can find 2 keys. If you get your hands on 2 keys, Stig and Hezi, I guarantee will have better loot than the rest of the lobby. But if you're not able to find your hands 2 keys, maybe just 1, make your way over towards this Fish Sticks building. There are some hologram chests just close by. We get your hands on some solid weaponry, but still, SMG and Illusions patrolling nearby. It's not going to be quite as easy, not to mention Riv and Tiki seem to have the same idea.
Oh, yeah, that looks like they might have found some keys to be able to use for the hologram chest, and they're going for the snipers. Okay, I get you. They're looking like they want a long-range battle here. Honestly, sometimes that's how you kind of, I guess, not even the playing field, but sort of tilt the playing field, if you will. You find that initial knock, that sometimes can be that sort of signal to get going, to get getting aggressive, and if Big Riv and Tiki can find that initial knock due to a headshot from a sniper rifle, be huge for them. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to find that yet, although no one has really found anything yet here. Still kind of feels like we're in the prep phase. Both teams kind of gearing up to make this fight. It is looking like, though, it's going to be Big Riv and Tiki versus the SMG and Illusion to start this one off. Meanwhile, Stig and Hezi, though, just kind of waiting for their moment. I think they found their moment here. Are they going to go in unchecked? No one sees them dropping in.
I mean, everyone's still on the south side, but no one's opting to take this high ground position. So Stig and Hezi said, why not? I'll take it if no one else will. So now they have free reign on the rest of this lobby to pressure down, and that Cobra DMR is going to start to come into effect. Not to mention it's that legendary variant, so it really does pack a punch. As now Stig and Hezi will hear the farming sounds just below them. We'll start to try and take some top control and look down. They know one duo is located just to the right near the gas station, but now hearing this other duo down below, they're going to have to play their space appropriately here, because if one player gets cracked, the battle is going to ensue immediately.
You got to be careful if you're Stig and Hezi, though. You've seen what this lethal duo can do when they get pushed into a box, and this is where you also got to be careful. You're in a bit of an odd position. Anybody gets a sniper shot on you, it's going to cause some problems.
There it is.
Like I said, you put on the sniper shot, and that's the signal for everybody to get going. What we thought would be a long-range battle has turned into a close-range war. CQB, the name of the game. The question is, who's coming out on top?
SMG and Illusions, again, they looked for that piece control or a push, but they're just going to go ahead and cower down below. I mean, it doesn't seem like they have any interest or drive to take a build battle with these teams. Maybe they know their strength is going to be within the box fights, but regardless, they're going to stay down below and try and look for a better opportunity, maybe a optional headshot snipe. I mean, they know Hezi has already been sniped once, so possibly another snipe could come through, as now Stig and Hezi will try and disengage, distance themselves a little bit, move towards the apartment complex, as now Tiki and Big Riv will find their opportunity to reposition, maybe move up towards this high ground position near the ice cream shop. But regardless, no one's really going to know where anyone is at this point because everyone's opting to reposition.
Now, this is smart as Stig and Hezi, though. They're going to technically stay within the POI, but they're going to grab some materials around it here. They don't want to take the fight after getting into an awkward position on the high ground. So, you can exit out for about a half a second and go straight back into the action here. The issue is that Big Riv and Tiki seem to have the same idea. Either they're looking for the same sort of build-up, or they've recognized that this duo has extended their hand a bit too far. I think it's that. They recognize the ambush. Big Riv with the initial big shot, and that's going to send Hezi packing. Stig trying to survive no matter what, but they are struggling to do so. Prime shotgun in hand. First shot's going to land, but can they scare them away? Tiki still trying to climb to the high ground here. Stig trying to survive. This feels like it went oh so wrong in the blink of an eye here for Hezi and Stig.
Big Riv and Tiki will have to disengage for a moment. A good job here to realize that, hey, we've been fighting for a little bit too long. Weren't able to pick up 2 eliminations immediately, so now's the time to chill and make sure there's no third party coming our way. As now Stig tries to move away, but Illusions and SMG now pressuring down Stig on 116 HP. Now the full crack to make that 80. So Big Riv and Tiki now starting to look, realizing that the third party has come through they expected, which caused them to disengage on the low ground, but now gives them that opportunity in that space to move towards high ground and take the initial in the full 2v2.
If you're Stig, all you're banking on right now is that Big Riv and Tiki get into a fight with Illusion and SMG, and maybe you can pick one of them off, if that. Otherwise, fighting a 2v1 against two individual teams is going to be rather difficult. They will exit out of their little hidey hole here. Maybe it's going to help them get some extra space. They don't really have any builds to work with, though. They wasted all of them on the outskirts of the town, and the fight has officially begun. Big Riv and Tiki going to be fighting up against Illusion and SMG. Both going to take a second to heal back on up, but this is exactly what you want if you are Stig or Hezi. You want to try and force these two duos to fight, and if you can maybe get an elimination for the road, that is by far your best case scenario.
Absolutely. You're looking for that grab, that elimination as Big Riv starts to look at Stig gliding through the air. Needs to connect with one more shot, and they will. That's 2 eliminations now. The first time I think we've seen so far tonight that a full duo is picking up a full wipe on another before the VR. So now 2 points already on the board for Big Riv and Tiki. So if they pick up both eliminations and the VR here, they're going to be ahead by first place by at least 1 point.
Oh, yeah. At this point, they're on track. If they can finish off this duo, they would be at 8 total points, putting them 3 points ahead of Stig and Hezi here. And this, again, is why I think that Stig and Hezi need to try and find themselves a little bit safer of a route. They started off with those outskirts before, and it didn't really work out. They didn't get the loot that they were looking for from the floating tower, and instead, they then have to try and retreat, grab some extra materials, and it does not work out. You gotta be oh so careful, and unfortunately, Illusion is learning that the hard way. Big Riv with a big amount of shots on target, but here's where things get a bit spicy. The zone's starting to move, and that's going to accelerate this fight tenfold.
First zone not pulling towards Shiny Sound because it's so close to the edge of the map. So these players not able to rotate out, have to take the fight now. So Illusion's on low HP. Tiki now knocked, but Riv is only on 16 health. Needs to take the fight now. Look for that Siphon. Needs the 50 HP to make it through the zone. 10 HP, slowly ticking down. Tried to drop to the low ground to look for the finish, but won't be able to find it. So now it's just a Storm battle. Riv, 2 HP, but SMG says no. If you're going to go down to Storm, I'm getting the elimination credit. So they'll pick up 2 elims there and the victory royale to even the playing field.
And you weren't even kidding when you say even the playing field. We're about as even as we get. Like I said, Big Riv and Tiki on the verge of being able to pull away from the rest of the competition, but as soon as it looks like that could happen, immediately stifled in Illusion and SMG, bring themselves back into the game yet again. 2 total eliminations for the teams puts them at 5 total for the night, evening them out against Stig and Hezi. And meanwhile, Big Riv and Tiki, they may have 6 eliminations, but it is only 1 point more than the second and third place duos. And guess what that means, Ben? Is that this final game is basically going to determine it all. If anyone catches up to Big Riv and Tiki here, they've got a chance. But the other big thing, more than anything else, Big Riv and Tiki, that is their, not Big Riv and Tiki, Illusions and SMG, that is their second win now. They may be behind on eliminations, but if they can catch up in eliminations, they would have it basically off the win condition.
It's going to be close. And we have 1 more game to go. My favorite POI in this current map here in Chapter 3, Chrome Crossroads, my home, my favorite POI. I mean, Bass, if I say I'm excited, that's not even to begin how I feel about this. I mean, there's so much dynamic play to this POI, especially now, even though it's within that kind of chromified form because of the kind of growing chrome on the map currently, it's still very strong. There's a lot of loot to go around, and not to mention, if you're looking at a player that wants to kind of alpha up and really control and dictate the pace of these fights, they're going to want to land Ice Cream. Plain and simple. If you land Ice Cream and you just look top down on these players and pressure and use any extra ammunition you have, that's the win. That's the win condition you need. That's the VR. And I'm really interested to see, I mean, who's been focusing on these drops so far tonight? And I got to say it, Hezi, they haven't had the best drops so far. So if they're not able to claim the Ice Cream shop in this game, it could really shake things up.
I think the big thing for them more than anything else here is also the fact that that is the only place that you're going to be able to relaunch from as well. Is that a lot of the other POIs that we've seen so far here tonight, there have been balloons that you've been able to relaunch yourself, basically redrop from in order to try and make that quick move. And we saw that in the last game where I think it was Stig in particular, who tried to get away from his opponents and then got gunned out of the air. Yeah. It's something that you only have one option for here. Like you said, at the Ice Cream. If you do not, in comparison to everywhere else that we've seen, Greasy Grove didn't have any of them, so there is no way to do that. Meanwhile, in Tilted Towers, you don't have any of them, so you cannot do that. And then you go to Shiny Sound, you've got 3 different options to do so. And then when you look at the Cloudy Condos, it's basically all in the air with 2 redeploy stations. So at this point, it's one of these things where Chrome Crossroads, if you want to have the height advantage, it is quite literally, like you said, one single part of the POI where you're going to be able to play with that win condition in your favor. Whoever drops there is most likely taking the round, but at the same time, imagine if all 3 teams drop in the same building. At that point, we get to see one of the quickest rounds all night, and also probably one of the most hectic ones.
I mean, if you're looking at Chrome Crossroads, you can section it off into 3 different parts, right? You have that north side where there's like 3 buildings on that side. You also have the 2 houses on the left corner. But when you're looking at splitting the right from the left side of the street, you have ice cream, obviously, which we already talked about, but the left side arguably has more loot, but doesn't have as good a positioning. And if you're landing on that north side, you're also getting even less loot. So it really comes down to if these players want to alpha up and take one of these better looting kind of sides of the POI, they can do that because knowing the team that takes ice cream, they're not going to let you rotate to any other spot.
Yeah, at that point, if you are on ice cream, what you're doing is you're basically surveying everybody else. It's like you're the warden out of prison. All you're doing is just kind of sitting in your tower, looking around, watching as everybody else makes their movement on the floor. And, well, if you do something wrong, they're going to take a shot at you, and you're going to unfortunately learn your lesson. Well, that lesson is just about to go underway here. Like we said, our final matchup of the night. The battle comes down to Chrome Crossroads, and the battle comes down to one last winner here. Going into this one, Big Rib and Tiki have a lead, but barely. 6 points to the 5 points that both the other duos hold here in Illusion SMG and Stig and Hezi. So let's find out who is going to win the ESportsU Campus Cup East Heat number 3. It comes down to one last round here in round number 5.
Number 5 is underway. These players have a lot of ground to cover, a lot riding on this drop in itself, so making sure that you have that best glide as possible. As Stig and Hezi, I don't want to say they've been struggling with their glides or their drops for a lot of these games tonight, but they definitely have not been as favorable as duos like Illusions and SMG have seemed to have been nailing them all night here. Still very elevated, not the best drop, but SMG much more de-elevated, might have the perfect glide for that ice cream shot. As Big Rib, however, way ahead of the competition, now be able to claim whatever they want at the POI.
And I think he's going to not take it. Big Rib backs off and gives it to Tiki. Maybe this is why. He's trying to get some shots early, but there's the issue is now he's getting fired upon. 20 health left. This could be huge. Okay, they're the same duo. I'm realizing now that's why. Did they just take the left and right and then force Stig and Hezi to take the top left? Oh, that's oh my gosh. Big Rib and Tiki might have already taken the round.
I would say this is 60% of the loot at the POI in these 2 buildings. So many chest spawns between this duo, so not a lot left and just scraps really for Stig and Hezi. They are able to at least formulate one full duo, but when it really comes down to it, it's going to be that shield advantage. You're not going to find a lot of heals, but Illusions and SMG, however, still able to take a solid chunk of the POI that have that gas station and those hologram chests if they do have a key in inventory. But Hezi and Stig now looking, crouching, trying to close the distance on Illusions and SMG. That Unbecoming just staying within the building, trying to heal back up, completely unaware of the duo lurking close by.
Oh boy, if they're able to take this, this changes the entire round. All of a sudden, Stig and Hezi might have a second shot here. You're talking about the loot totals to really understand how drastic and dire it has been for Stig and Hezi here. The 2 buildings that they dropped on, 2 total chests, versus where we see Illusions and SMG, 7 chests between a single building, and then all the way to the right of the gas station, they've got another chest on top of that, 8 total. And then, to even further emphasize, that south side that we said would be divided by 2 teams, that has only been taken by Tiki and Big Rib, they've got a total of, if I'm counting this right, 9 chests. So at this point, if one of these 2 duos is able to claim the north side of this POI, maybe they've got a chance. But otherwise, the loot is incredibly in favor of Big Riv and Tiki right now. And as the fight does commence, I think that Stig and Hezi seem to know that. They know it's now or never. If they want a shot at this one, they got to try and get some extra loot.
Absolutely. I mean, I mentioned this POI was my favorite POI, and it's my favorite POI because you have to fight at this POI. You have to fight. No matter what you do, you have to clear the POI every game because regardless of how comfortable you might be, you're not going to have enough loot. You have to take the fight. So the whole goal is farm up, then take the engagements, which is why it's so favorable to a lot of these players who like to get aggressive. So Big Riv and Tiki now need to play into that. Hit their shots here, pressured down. However, that common loadout combo that Big Riv is rocking right now is not looking too sharp.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a yikes, if you will. The unfortunate thing for them, though, is also that because they did end up splitting the left and right side of Chrome Crossroads, if they try to make that movement over either from the left to the right or the right to the left, they might get gunned down by the other teams looking around here. The good thing for Illusions, though, they've got a pretty good loadout in themselves and a decent amount of health as well. Probably one of the biggest things that we're going to see is that when these fights are so quick, when they are CQB pretty much the entire way through, you got to be prepared to finish off a duo very quickly, or you got to be able to heal rather quickly as well here. Having some chug splashes on you, having a small potion is going to be huge. The question is whether or not it's going to actually come to their advantage. This is an interesting one out of Hezi and Stig, taking a little bit more of a stealthy approach, trying to just kind of slither their way around here, and potentially they're going for ice cream. This could be big if they're able to somehow find this.
Hezi and Stig seem to like to play into this outskirts, push the limits a little bit, and reposition to where players might not be aware, as Tiki and Big Riv still singled out left and right side of the road here. So if Stig and Hezi can get an initial beam, that'll be fantastic for them, as Tiki seems completely unaware of the duo looting these outskirts still, though controlling these main buildings of this POI in a great spot to pressure down. Aware that there were some shots being traded back and forth early on, but now losing control of ice cream from that duo of Hezi and Stig, so they will look to now rain down from the high ground.
I can't believe they gave that up. Tiki and Big Riv, they may have looted the entire place, but unfortunately, that's only one part of the battle here. You still got to try and hold on to that high ground, especially if the long-range battle is what you're looking for. And I think Tiki knows that. He's probably looking around going, why did we give up that space? Why did we head on over to a straight-up building, which gives us no advantage? And especially considering Hezi, rifle in hand, the hunting rifle. If you can get a headshot, that's a one-and-done battle. So this is big. Hezi and Stig, they turn this round around incredibly well. I don't think I can overemphasize how incredible this turnaround has been.
They did a great job. Didn't have the loot advantage. Moved towards the outskirts, then immediately made the move for that alpha high ground position. So played very, very well. Hezi or Stig, whoever's leading the charge, the IGL obviously doing a great job of putting this duo in that win condition. So, I mean, we kind of predicted that this would happen, all right? The slow play, the last game, everything's on the line here, and considering how close the scores are, these players need to try and look for the opportune moment to pick up the win. There are no placement points, and these players really aren't going to be getting into engagements regardless, but they do not want to take an engagement that isn't completely optimal.
As it stands right now, there's not much of an optimal shot here for Hezi. He's just trying to get a tag here to drain some of Tiki's health and make them use some of those health resources. And this actually could be the signal they were looking for. They get the initial tag, and now it's go time. Stig and Hezi going to start trying to charge on in. Use the rifle to get a couple of different walls. Maybe even damage Tiki a little bit more. Shotgun shot landing, and Tiki's got to scramble. They've got some health items on them, but unfortunately, with the 3 chug splashes being all that they have left, they got to use these rather strategically. Head to the low ground, box on up, and try and play this slowly. And meanwhile, there's the signal as well for the lethal duo. Illusion and their teammate, an SMG, finally going to start the fight. There's the signal. It's like the flare at the beginning of the race, Ben. We are off to the races, and we're ready to go.
Doing a great job. I mean, SMG and Illusions looked to take the high ground from them. They heard the shots of the engagement going through, but Hezi was quick to turn ahead and move back towards that high ground position to hold it down. So now both teams looking for the disengage to find the extra big pot, at least in Hezi, now moving towards the even further outskirts position where you have that double key vault and a couple of coolers placed close by. So Stig and Hezi, again, disengaging, but a very slow play across the board.
Yeah, they know that they got to get back into Chrome Crossroads if they want to have the fight. They're not necessarily allowed to fight out here. I mean, if somebody charges them, they're allowed to do that. But at the same time, they know that they have to return. At some point, they got to try and get back there. And I wonder if they're now regretting what they did with getting rid of ice cream here. They saw the signal. They saw that initial tag, and that could have been what they were looking for. But now all they've really done is drop themselves back to the low ground and drop themselves back to the outskirts where they've got to try and find a way back in to Chrome Crossroads. It's in a risky position, but it's something they've tried time and time again. Certain rounds it has worked out for them, certain rounds it has not paid off at all, and has actually left them in more precarious positions than they started off with. Speaking of precarious positions here, SMG and Illusion, we gotta remind you guys again, no placement points. You need eliminations, and if you guys continue to play this passively, one of the other two duos is gonna pick up those placements before you guys even get a shot.
You have to realize the gap that you have to fill, and if you lose one of these crucial eliminations to another squad, your chances are over before they even began. So Hezi and Stig, though, at a great spot, do not need to force anything, but SMG and Illusions need to get a move on now. Pick up another victory royale as Hezi and Stig still being the aggressors in this lobby. In the past, we've seen them opt for a more passive playstyle, but this time around, they are not taking any funny business. They will just take the fight to these enemies, still looking for piece control. Nothing crazy across the board. With this being essentially located POI, the zone will form on them, but now the Storm Eye will form. Zone 2 will present itself, and it will not be within Chrome Crossroads, so the fight will have to ensue within the next 2 minutes.
Oh boy, and I think it's going to be right here and now. Hezi heading over. No, he's just stealing the resources. That is cheeky. That is one of those things where you're doing that not necessarily for your advantage. Yes, it's going to get you back up to 200 health, but you're also just doing that to steal resources from your enemies. Don't even give them an option to heal on up. And speaking of heal on up here, Illusion and SMG not going to heal on up fully before they get into the battle here. They're losing just a little bit of health, which is not necessarily their complete downfall. But the fight's going to have to happen. You can see it in the bottom right. The Storm possibly going to be a factor for yet another round here. As the fight officially began, though, looks like Illusion's pushing out. Is SMG going to do the same? As he's trying to look and see if that guy does pop their head here. Instead, he's finding nothing. Tiki and Big Rip, though, maybe trying to head to the rooftop here of the left side of Chrome Crossroads. If they get over to Eager, you know Hezi's going to hit them with a sniper shot almost immediately. Oh, wait, what? Hezi, what are you doing here?
Hezi's looking for one, trying to take the fight to them because, as you mentioned, I mean, timer's ticking. They do not have a lot of time. 40 seconds before the zone starts to get a move on, and then an initial 2 minutes on top of that before the zone will fully close. So these players have to start looking for these elims or start to look for some white HP heals, maybe even a possible heal off. It will only be a 1 tick, so if you do have a flopper in hand, these players will have a little bit of time in zone, but as they start to get impatient, as the zone starts to close, that's when those big tags, those mistakes start to present themselves.
The one thing that I will say about heal off here, which wouldn't necessarily benefit anybody but Big Riv and Tiki, again, eliminations are what get you points here, not the win. So if Big Riv and Tiki just hold on here until they outlast their opponents, they still win from a 6-5 difference, considering that both Illusion, SMG, Stig, and Hezi all are at 5 points for their duo. So right now, it's really up to Illusion, SMG, Stig, and Hezi to start get going. You need to try and find some eliminations here just to tie up Big Riv and Tiki, and then you can fight for the win afterwards.
Need to be looking for one or some sort of an advantage, but Hezi and Stig, they seem to have no fear in this lobby thus far, just making sure they have all of the resources and utility they have, and still trying to look for an advantage at every waking moment. It seems like this duo very confident, very comfortable with the pressure being applied by everyone else in this lobby. At SMG and Illusion, seems like we've seen them do almost nothing in this game so far. Had a little bit of an aggressive move early on, but since then, absolutely nothing. So this duo just kind of cowering in their building. They need to pick up some eliminations here if they want to win.
Honestly, I think at this point, rather than focusing on the duos, you got to focus on that bottom right. 1 minute until the circle closes, and at that point, you don't have an option. It's go time. You can see it creeping up, and I think that SMG and Illusion know that. You can see them starting to strategize. How are they going to get into the building against Big Riv and Tiki here? And then they can figure out Stig and Hezi afterwards. This has got to be so scary if you were a duo like this, but wait a minute. Could we possibly see the move now? Did they move into them? It's just such a curious little battle here. You're just waiting for someone to pop their head up. It's like whack-a-mole at this point.
These players not able to leave the POI, so regardless, trying to move with the zone for as long as possible before they'll have to start to sit within the Storm. Tiki and Big Riv, though, already in that situation, as you did see the other duo now moving out of the POI. Gotta stay within the POI, guys. I'm not sure what's going on here. SMG and Illusions, though, still playing with the rules. staying within, trying to heal back up before the eliminations will come through. You have to imagine now, not moving with the zone, any sort of eliminations or points they rack up will not be added to their total, so maybe not even possible to move themselves into first place.
I don't think it is possible because they need eliminations, and the issue is that if one of these duos goes down to the Storm, that quite literally is going to be the separating factor. Is that if Big Riv and Tiki go down now, and then Lethal and SMG or Lethal SMG and Illusion do not find themselves in elimination, they hold on to the win. Again, win condition or the win separation is only going to happen if a duo does not have more points, and that's the big thing for me right now. Is that Illusion and SMG, you may have the win condition in your favor at a total of 5 points and 2 wins, but you don't have the eliminations. Big Riv and Tiki still have 6 total eliminations, so as long as they hold on here, they're good to go, especially if Tiki gets one for the road. If Tiki gets an elimination here, I'm willing to call it. This team's taking this thing home.
At this point, right, if they're already ahead, the whole goal is to not be tagged by any team and to just move into the zone. Not let anything happen, as SMG is now knocked, and now looking to trade reses with the teammates, so Big Riv possibly able to, not able to identify any white HP heals, so Tiki having to carry the team a little bit as Stig and Hezi now look like they're trying to start to close the distance. SMG and Illusion seems like they have one med kit in one of their inventories. Trading reses going to be the name of the game at this point. Now that second zone, third zone starts to close as SMG will now be knocked. As long as they aren't tagged by any player within the lobby within the last 2 minutes, no one will actually get the elimination credit, so no points will be scored.
No points being scored right now here, but it does look like we may still have a fight. Still getting back into the zone here. They might not know where their opponents are, but their opponents know where they are. This could be the win. If Big Riv and Tiki can finish off Stig, it would be huge, but they're not going to get that. And I think Big Riv is going to go down yet again, which would be a signal for Tiki to try and get involved. Lethal going to go down to themselves. Big Riv going to go down to themselves. Tiki scrambling, and the duo is out. It is in the hands of the other players here. If Illusion goes down, they're done. Similarly, if Stig or Hezi don't find the elimination on them, they're also done. Like we mentioned, win condition or the wins are just going to be a tiebreaker of a sorts. The eliminations are what make the difference here. And if the elimination is not found on Illusion, unfortunately for Stig and Hezi, they're still sitting behind the other players at 5 total elims. So they gotta rush. They gotta hurry. They don't have an option here at this point, Ben.
Illusion seems like they don't want to at least not give the other team the elimination credit, staying within Chrome Crossroads. I mean, that was the rules going into the game, still abiding by them, doing a great job, though, trying to find some extra white HP heals or at least another moment to continue on in this game, because this will be a 5-tick in the next 10 seconds, so a med mist, a med kit, anything of the sort, having to use the band-aids to heal the boo-boos, Illusions is not in a good spot.
Not necessarily in the best spot, but neither is their opponents. Like, at this point, it's basically guaranteed it's going to Big Riv and Tiki here. No one able to find themselves maximum eliminations, and considering the fact that it is straight up basically an elimination battle, I'm not sure what the plan was for Stig and Hezi. I think in theory, not a bad idea. You're trying to bait out other teams, but you're fighting against the core concept of the POI battle. You have to stay in the POI. It does not make a difference if you're able to outlast your opponents, because congratulations on the win. You're still a couple elims behind your opponents, and as a result, Big Riv and Tiki should be taking this whole thing home.
Hey, they played it. They followed the rules. They didn't force an engagement. No one wanted the win as bad as Big Riv and Tiki. They played their lives. Nobody tagged them up, so nobody gets the elimination credit. And you have to imagine that that is going to be the win there. Big Riv and Tiki, congratulations to you guys. I mean, played it well. Dude, you knew your situation going into it. You nailed those drops coming into game number 5. Exactly what you needed to do to execute it properly to pick up the win.
Yeah, it's a big win, and not only is it a big win, but it's also going to be the final one we see of the night. Ben K, we find ourselves 5 rounds down, 5 POIs battled through, and it looks like the winner of this entire thing should be Big Riv and Tiki, finding themselves a single elimination, or excuse me, a single point per elimination at a total of 6. Meanwhile, Illusion, SMG, Stig, and Hezi, all of those guys combined, their team's totals are 5 apiece. Unfortunate to say the least that we couldn't see the battle that we were hoping for in that 5th round, but sometimes that's how it goes. You guys get so passive that you're going, no, you make a move, no, you make a move, no, you make a move, and then no one ends up actually making a move, and we just kind of see that stalemate battle that we saw right there. It's a good back and forth, though, and it's a great way to see these teams battle it out, but unfortunately, we don't really see a winner out at Chrome Crossroads. It's kind of just, like I said, the stalemate until eventually somebody drops. Well, that actually did go to the advantage of Big Riv and Tiki. 6 eliminations. I have to imagine they are your winners for the night.
They played very, very well to pick up VR along the way. I mean, they executed things properly. They played into the format to the best of their ability to clean up fights when they needed to. They were always there hand in hand. Maybe had some slip-ups early game in a game or two, but regardless, made up that lost ground to pick up the win. So congratulations to Big Riv and Tiki there. Played very, very well. And both Tiki, another player that I've seen within the collegiate scene over and over again. I do hope to see everyone who competed tonight in the collegiate scene. I mean, it's so awesome to see the collegiate space, especially within Fortnite, expanding as time goes on. So many up-and-comers within the space, and I can't wait to see what comes in the future.
Well, speaking of the future here, unfortunately, we got to wrap this show up and send you guys on to the next esport for the night here on ESportsU. Next up, we're going to be heading over to Overwatch. It's going to be Army West Point versus USC Sumter. It's going to be Juggle God and Acoustics on the call there. So we're going to leave you in the lovely hands of those two casters, and we will see you two next. See all you next time. This has been the ESportsU Campus Cup heat number 3 for the East. Oh, it's a mouthful at that, but it's good because you don't have to hear us say it again for the rest of the night. We'll send it over to Overwatch, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
So he gets quickly back before that Talk is able to take any sort of advantage. But, well, you're gone. The spikes come through. It's clean kick to wrap things up. And well, he's got one. He's got one stock for his troubles.
Up next, the duel of Donkers and Robeast have some things to say with this beautiful 1-2 combo to close the door on Albany.
Hit the intersection and go straight up in the air for Robeast, who's going to work Central Missouri into the offense. Flip reset's a good one. The pass down to Donkers, and he finds the net. A 3-goal deficit in Game 3.
I gotta say, Curtis, it seems like after these two teams came out of Game 2, right? Again.
In our next play, who needs to be able to see your enemy when you can just take a educated guess?
Great, 1-for-1 over towards Catwalk. There's still more where that came from. Myranium is next up, and he will take a couple too many fights. Solsta as well is going to be able to take a couple of fights, winning them both. It's a 1v3, and Novacorium won't be able to do anything. Johnson, Wales.
At number 5, it's Saltonics with this huge flank onto Cole College to secure Temple of Anubis for his team.
Right now, it's got to be just destroying it straight up. Maybe with the Coalescence, maybe the Supercharger, but that Retire could just immediately rip through.
Here's that Riptire. It does move Joker, but it could have been a catastrophic play. Now Nightbolt is pulled all the way off the point, and that's an easy one. Tonic's coming in with the triple off of that crucial Rocket Barrage, and that is all of them off the point.
Now it's time to Joker just to get the touch onto the point. Tracer.
Coming back to the Bloomfield versus Keen matchup, it was a clutch finish from Zenipu as he finishes off Brandon without dropping a single stock.
No, one more lease on life. Lease on life indeed for Brandon. Looking to hold the ledge, but a recovery from Zenipu. He says second time's the charm. He'll send him to the moon, and once again, Zenipu will not drop a stock.
Blast packing our way into the number 2 spot though. It's a 4K from Butta to cement the lead for Providence College.
Back roads around the high ground to try and avoid that as much as possible.
Oh my absolute days! Here was me looking for that Transcendence to counteract the grab, and no, it was just a big fat go button. In comes the Pulse Bomb, down goes SUNY Poly Wildcats.
Phil, I can't remember the last time I've seen...
Blast packing our way into the number 2 spot though. It's a 4K from Butta to cement the lead for Providence College.
Not much more. That tap can go a long way in the latter half, right? Now Retna bringing out that stimmy, trying to get the opportunity to move the team in forward. Okay, there's that showstopper I was thinking about. It looks like D-Nuns is going to have that show stopped. Sal, not particularly far behind, a 4v2. But really starting to wake up here on the race.
Yeah, wow, so impressive. And 4K there, just going straight through the entire team like a bulldozer. Will not stop until all are taken down.
And in our top play from the last week of regular season play, It is a nail-biter last-second goal that will keep you guessing until the very end.
Leaves their own open. A little bit of high pass. You angle it in, but it's just off the top of the goalpost.
Top of the goalpost coming in deep. Matrix able to find something here. The demolition comes through. 7 seconds left for a true game win, but in overtime feeling incredibly likely. But tied out of a wide open goal. No! No! Orbital, the waffle iron has been flipped, and Farmingdale finds themselves up 4-3. 2 seconds left on the clock. The only hope for Louisville to win this out is with a kickoff goal. They cannot make a single mistake, or they will.
And with that, I mean, what more do you guys want me to say? It was a crazy week to wrap things up, but it's really just been a crazy season overall with the addition of Division A and what I personally think is some of the most competitive action here in collegiate esports. I mean, what a season, and there's only much more to come. With the playoffs starting on April 4th, you guys can expect to see a lot more action that will continue all throughout the month, and that will wrap up on the week of April 25th. Now, if you guys want to stay up to date on all of that, make sure you follow us on Twitter at ECAC_esports, or follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/ECAC_esports. Mondays and Tuesdays, matches will be lighting off at 8 p.m. Eastern. On Wednesdays, it is going to be the doubleheader of Rocket League and Overwatch at 7 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are tuned in. And as for me and the rest of the crew behind the scenes that works on not only just the production, but these highlight videos for you guys, we just want to say thank you for joining us for what has been another incredible season. And we look forward to so much more that we're going to bring you guys in the next school year, in the fall and the spring and beyond. We've got a lot of great things coming, so stick around, don't go anywhere. Come back right here to this channel, to this Twitter, to this Twitch, to this YouTube, wherever it is you see this. Stay tuned, because even more is on the way. Thank you guys once again. I've been KTAD. It's been a wonderful season, and we'll see you next time.
That's so cute.
UCF, and it's really cute. I'm gonna move down here. How do we feel? The odds for UCF? What are we thinking?
They got it. No, we got this. We got it. We got it. Go Knights. Charge on.
100%. My friend Nick is behind you. He's gonna record it. Don't look at him. You'll ruin the shot. Don't look at him. Don't look at him.
Come on. Let's go! Let's go!
My smile's probably really creepy. I was just being weird. Oh, I love being in the shadows, though. Big shout out to the shadows. We could interview Dilly just because I think he's handsome. You weren't supposed to hear.
Here's the thing about the event. I'm the greatest that's ever lived.
Literally true. I know him.
I think everyone knows that. I think everyone's aware of that.
Hey, do you have a VIP access badge on?
I actually have an all access.
Oh, an all access. I thought it said VIP access.
And that's only available for the best.
That's true. He's right. That's a main stage TO right there.
If this goes live, I'm suing everybody.
It's all right. A video of me, the first clip is me saying, don't put that in. And then it was the first, cut the cameras. Oh, you're recording already? Great. So this is this is Bay State versus UCF. I believe something that we saw yesterday on day one of the tournament, but instead we're going to have that run back here. I think they're fighting for a spot in Grand Finals. Anarchy, one of the best Greninja players in the United States, currently struggling against a Terry. Terry notorious for that DLC privilege, being a very strong character with some very strong abilities. Greninja, not so much, considered one of the weaker characters in the game. A Falco player, one of the best in the United States, and he just got spiked by a Terry. Same Terry that took out Anarchy literally minutes ago. UCF still up by 2 stocks. This guy is looking to rip this team apart single-handedly. That is, I mean, nuts, to say the very least. Absolutely absurd. That was a disgusting spike. I cannot believe that happened. Will you hold the microphone so I can sign this? Sorry.
For context, he's got a fan. He's actually signing something. He's so excited.
Was it like to not hear my voice for 2 minutes, for 30 seconds maybe. What was it like? Probably bliss. I was signing a mouse pad, which is really cool. I've never done that before. Nobody's ever asked me for a signature, so I'm gonna start blushing. But I'm really excited about that. And then he wants a picture. Can you take a picture of us? I said, is it bad? She went, no. I'm gonna go ahead and take that as a yes.
Turns out I can't tie a tie sitting down.
What do you think is the appropriate face to screen ratio for a Valorant player?
Face to screen, like how close I sit?
Yeah, like how close should a player sit?
Personally, I play really, really close. I think it depends on your eyesight, but for me, I like playing close because it helps me focus on my crosshair.
Is the value of sitting close, the crosshair being the only thing in your line of sight?
Yeah, that's pretty much the main benefit of it.
It's so funny how close some of these guys sit. Oh my goodness. What do you think is the healthy face to screen distance for a Valorant player?
I think it's all kind of personal preference. I guess I would consider myself like pretty close when I play because I like to like zone in on my crosshair.
It is the second person to say that. It's all about the crosshair. And then what's up with the horizontal keyboard?
I don't know, like it just kind of fits like the form when I'm close to monitor. Like I don't know, it might sound cringy, but I like to like be one with my gun, you know?
No, bro, I feel it absolutely. What is going on, everybody? I am here with some UCF fans. How are we feeling about UCF? Let's go! Let's go! We've got a bunch of UCF fans in the crowd right now. UCF, they are up by a single game. They're looking to find their third and possibly final, secure a spot moving forward. Things looking great for them against Northwood here today. This guy's playing Minecraft right now. He keeps double building instead of placing the dirt. Pressure's on, man. Everybody's watching. Just kidding. Just me. Cameraman's not over here. Just kidding. He's behind you. There's actually always cameras on you if I'm around. Do you double build all of those? No excuses, bro. Your college esports Minecraft team absolutely rolled. L after L here. Let's hope UCF has a little better luck on stage, huh? What is going on, everybody? I am Septilins. I have the honor of welcoming you to the Collegiate Esport Commissioners Cup here in Atlanta, Georgia. All right, that was good. That was good. Good content, good content.
My name is Dusty. I'm 24 years old, and this is my first year at Bay State College and first year towards my bachelor's there. But I've been going to college for a few years now, or several years now.
Cool. What are you studying?
Right now, I am studying human resource management in
Nice.
business. Yeah.
Do you like Bay State so far?
Yes. Yeah. It's been pretty good so far. It's only been one quarter, but I like it so far. So.
Where are you from?
I'm from SoCal. I'm doing it remotely from Southern California.
So, what games do you play? What's your main game?
My main game is Smash Brothers, and that's what I compete in. So Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Okay, what character do you like?
Wii Fit Trainer is my main character.
So, how has it been being part of a collegiate team at Bay State? Have you been on a collegiate team before?
I've been on teams before. I don't know if I've been on a collegiate team before. I think this is my first collegiate team, but it is really nice, and the teammates are really supportive, and I've met some cool people, so that's nice. But I definitely do have experience like with teams, so it's nothing like super new, but it's always good to be in a team, you know, have that support.
A fresh team. Yeah, that's cool. So, how long have you been playing Smash?
I've been playing Smash for about like 7-ish years now. Well, I've kind of played it since I was like really young, but like competitively, I've played it like 7 years. I played since the release of Smash 4, which is the previous Smash game, and now I've played into Ultimate, so quite a while.
What has been your proudest moment since playing Smash?
That's hard to say because I've honestly had a lot of good moments. It's just I feel like every other week or every other month I have a new moment where I'm like, wow, that's the best I've ever played, which feels good and makes it, you know, I keep going for stuff like that. But every time I play a tournament set and it feels really good and I feel like I'm playing the best I've ever played, probably each of those consecutive moments. I just had a tournament a couple weekends ago in Las Vegas where I placed 9th out of nearly 400, I think, and I think that was one of the best I've ever played. And that felt really good, so that was a really big accomplishment for me.
So you would definitely say over the past 7 years, you said that you've grown a lot in the game?
Yeah, I think I've grown a lot in the game, and I think I've also grown a lot just as a person too. Just like competition in general, there's a lot of learning, and there's a lot of a lot of ways to approach it. I've learned how to teach other people as well because I do coaching as well, stuff like that. Um, so I've learned a lot through Smash. Yeah.
How long have you been doing the coaching part?
Coaching, I've been doing maybe a year and a half-ish, maybe almost 2 years. I'm actually not sure on the number. I think a year-ish, year and a half is probably closer to the right one. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun too. It's really interesting because it gives you a different perspective on the game, and not only are you helping other people, but you kind of help yourself in a way too because you can kind of see things from a different perspective, so.
How would you describe yourself? Do you like competing more or playing for fun or?
I'm definitely more of a competitor. Ever since I was young, like I remember playing like board games um with like friends or something. I think I was waiting for them to play, and I think some of them were playing like just like house rules or whatever, and I was like really, really young, and it like made me upset. I'm like, you guys aren't playing it the right way or whatever. But like I've always been a competitor, but at the same time, like you have to have fun because if you're only a competitor and you're only competing and it's all seriousness, like it's there's like a limit to that. So like you have to have fun. So definitely both, but I definitely lean towards the competitive sides of things. So I like optimizing things and seeing the best thing you can do. Because it all started out with like uh it all started out with it just being fun because when I was younger, I played different games and I originally just played them for fun and I played them all the time, but I played them so often and I got so good at them to the point where uh, it just started to naturally lean into the competitive side of things. And I was so good to the point where I was like, oh, okay, what can I do to make myself like better and how can I see this as like something I can improve at? So it kind of made like a transition a little bit, but so it's both.
If you were to give someone advice who may be looking into joining an esports team but they're kind of on the fence, what would you tell them?
My advice would be to really like think over what they're looking for like in not only in the collegiate esports team but in school as well and like see like exactly does this line up with what they really want and just to figure out what they really want and if it's going to be a good decision from like a scholarly standpoint and from like a financial standpoint because there's a lot of things to consider. Like I thought it over a lot before I realized, okay, yes, this is a really good decision, I should go for this. So that's something that should be considered, and also like the time frame as well, because if you commit yourself to a collegiate team, it could potentially be a long time. um, so just consider it and think through like all your options, and don't ever make it like don't ever make a decision just off like an emotional reaction or anything like that. Just like, think it through, I guess.
So for you personally, how many hours do you think you game a week?
That's a good question. It's actually way less than it used to be, but before I would be putting in probably several hours a day into Smash. About a year ago, I was like really, really grinding it and put a lot of effort into it. But lately, like my priorities have shifted just a little bit, just because there's other things I need to focus on. Like I started working again recently and stuff like that. So it's taken a little bit of a backseat, but it's always something I focus on. So like even though I'm not necessarily playing all the time right now, I still try to get at least 30 to 60 minutes in a day. But I've been really busy lately, so it hasn't been looking like that lately. But if I'm not doing that, then there's still other stuff that kind of goes into it. Like I do a lot of research on mentality stuff and like stuff like meditation and stuff. So if I'm not gaming or whatever, there's still other things that I feel like is going towards my improvement at the game.
Could you expand a little bit on like meditating and how that helps you?
Yeah, so with a game like Smash, it can be like really volatile, and one of the reasons why I pursued Smash is because, well, I've always liked it since a young age, but also it's always been like really challenging. Like Smash 4 came out, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start competing with Smash 4, and I started playing it. For whatever reason, when I started playing it, like I realized that I was getting like frustrated, like I was like kind of getting a little bit angry, and like I anger is something I don't really feel very often. So it was kind of like a challenge for me. I'm like, okay, this is really challenging. This game is really hard. I want to figure out how to do this. Like I want to challenge myself. And that was a lot of reason why I did that in Smash. Just like some other things, like it can be comparable to kind of like chess and tennis in a way with like mentality aspects. And I used to play tennis in high school, and I was never really like super good at it, but I was like I was really into it whenever I was playing for some reason. And there was a lot of frustration in that too back in high school when I played. So it was like it was figuring out how to manage that frustration and how to like get it under control and actually channel it into something useful. Because one of my goals is always to be like, I want to be like a calm and collected person when I play. You know, I like, even though I'm an emotional person, I can be an emotional person because I'm passionate and I care a lot about it. But that's kind of where the meditation comes in, because it lets you kind of be more like at one with yourself and your emotions and how you feel, and stuff like that. And also just kind of eases your mind a bit, and it can really help in those situations. Like if you practice meditation and then you're in game and you're playing, and there's a situation where it's like super high tense situation, it can kind of give yourself the advantage, because you might be a lot more calm than your opponent if you do practice stuff like meditation. And it just has a bunch of other benefits as well, because with something like Smash, I try to be like the best I can be in game and like out of game. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, and I feel like if I improve everything that I can to the best of my ability, then it gives me like the highest chances to win, like in the game.
I know you speak about frustration and anger, but what about nerves? Like, do you get nervous?
Every now and then I definitely do get a little bit nervous. A lot of the things, like a lot of the my nerves are kind of quelled at this point, because I've been playing for like so long, where it's like if I go to a tournament, and I sit down, it's just like it's just me in the game, like it's just me in the match, and that's the goal, and it's just trying to learn and just play what's in front of me, you know. But sometimes it does. There are a little bit of nerves, like for example in Vegas, because I'm not very often playing on like big stages. Sometimes it's smaller tournaments, and at Vegas it was a bigger stage and there's a lot more people watching, so it was a bit more of a unique situation that I wasn't always in, and there was a little bit of nerves there, although it was a bit under control. But um, I think I definitely have the nerves mostly under control. And if there's a new situation like the stage one, I feel like just having more experience with that kind of stuff kind of help quells it. And also it's just because there's also other methods too, like telling yourself like, uh, like self-affirming stuff, I'm this is what I do. I'm just gonna go up there and play the game and do my best. And telling yourself that kind of stuff helps with nerves a lot too. So.
As a coach, do you tell those things to the people that you're coaching as well when they're nervous?
Yeah, I try a lot to practice what I preach, and I do in my coaching. There's a lot of mentality coaching too, because uh, I feel like not a lot of people. I feel like it's a really interesting part of the game and just a part of life too. And I feel like it's not something people focus on a lot with coaching. I feel like a lot of coaching, they're focusing on technical aspects, in-game aspects. Like what can you do in this situation that can be better. But sometimes like mentality comes first, and they're not going to be able to make those steps and make those leaps without like making a change in their mentality first, or at least trying to make an improvement somewhere there. And there's a lot of different like perspectives for it, but yeah.
I really admire your mindset. That's really cool. A lot of the
Thank
gamers
you.
that I've talked to are like aggressive. It's
Thank you.
really cool to hear that. Switching gears a little bit, how do you feel about the CECC? What do you think about it? And do you think your team will go to Atlanta?
So far, I think it's been good. It's been fun, and I do think there's a very high chance we would go to Atlanta. With my mentality, like I was talking about before, sometimes I just go into it and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do my best and I'm gonna play, and that's really what comes down to it. But I am really confident in our team's ability. I think we have a really good set of guys that put a lot of work into it. So I'm very confident that we would likely go to Atlanta. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Then I just go from there.
Well, those are all the questions I had. So, is there anything else that you want the world to know about you or anything that you would like to end with?
I don't know, for anyone watching, like just try to find like a balance like in life, and try to find like who you are truly, and like follow that passion. Because just for like reference, I worked somewhere for 3 years, and then I felt like I wasn't.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and family beyond the binary, hello and welcome to ECAC Overwatch week number 3. My name is Warren Jungle God Hammond, tonight joined on the mic by Acoustics. How are you doing?
Hey, listen, I'm doing great. Happy to be here. I'm ready to see someone get cooked.
Well, I gotta tell you, with Sojourn in the mix right now in Overwatch 2, I think that's absolutely something we will see tonight. Two fantastic teams will be playing. Can't wait to see how things are going to play out tonight with them.
Yep, absolutely. We have Army West Point versus USC Sumter. So I'm ready to see something go off tonight. To be honest, the fact that Sojourn is also now available to play is going to be really good. I always thought she was a great DPS, great repositioning ability, and consistent access to damage through her railgun ability and her ult. So it's going to be interesting to see how she affects everything in the league now.
Absolutely, and of course, Zarya been the omnipresent tank force early on in Overwatch 2.
Oh my god!
that was a reaction that says that you've seen her quite a bit in your ranked games, and you're done with it.
Bro, please, just save me. Just save me, please. Just nerf her now.
Well, you won't have to worry about that tonight, but Army West Point and Sumter, they certainly will. So we're going to be headed to Busan first, and I'm ready to get straight into the action, Acoustics. How about you?
Oh, I'm absolutely ready to get into it. I'm ready to see the comps. I'm ready to see if anyone's ready to pull out the Moira Lucio duo, as I like it the most. And of course, I'm ready to see Zarya. I know I'm gonna see her, bro.
Well, you know, maybe we'll see a little bit of off-meta play tonight as well, because that's certainly something that I very much enjoy. But, you know, even in the collegiate scene recently, it has been a lot of meta being played. And right now, the meta has really kind of centered on, again, Zarya, Genji, Sojourn, Baptiste, and Lucio. So it's getting something like that coming out from each side. But, of course, we're not seeing exactly that at the moment, but anything can change in the next 20 seconds here, Acoustics.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And just like you said, we got Lucio coming out on both teams. His utility is just way too good. Speed comp into any team is just something you need. And the honor for Sumter and Kuriko for Army West Point. So let's see how this works.
Absolutely, the gates are open, and this is absolutely what they are running out with. So, gonna have a Winston for Sumter, which is a very strong choice as well, especially when paired with a couple of dive DPS like the Genji, like the Sombra. So, the backline for Army West Point gonna have to be very careful here as Patient goes ahead and dives in. Soft dive just to get a little bit of charge, get something started. But in the meantime, Yoshawat has found a pick onto Skiz. But in the meantime, Magic Pants goes down as well. So one DPS missing from each squad. However, at the moment, Sumter has a very good control of the situation, of the high ground, putting in a lot of pressure. But Don't Look at Me is out of the equation, so now we're going to see Army West Point start to descend onto point. Now they're really putting the pressure in, and Patient having a much harder time staying alive considering both supports are down. This fight will go the way of Army West Point.
Nice. Yeah, there he is. Army West Point just looking too strong. Like I said, Zarya into a lot of comps. It's just, she offers so much, bro. She offers way too much. But I did like Patience Winston. I think he was absolutely doing a great job. He had great picks throughout the fight. It's just, of course, it's a struggle when you're DPS. You can't seem to catch those healers quick enough. It's the quickest way to lose a fight. Oh, and there it is. Patient going out, dropping the ult. Let's see.
That is true. Patient actually just about lapping everybody in this lobby in terms of ult percentage. They're going to be able to get the primal kill onto Mulan. So now it's just up to TJ, but Mr. Magic Pants was there to take them out as well. So Sumter should be winning this fight, and in fact, we're seeing the rest of Army West Point just back off and regroup.
Absolutely. All right. And they have about one more. Sumter has about one more team fight before they have access to Nano Blade. The Ana at 71%. Genji, Mr. Magic Pants already at 85, and you know the Nano Blade is gonna happen.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be heavily on Mulan, but Stay Bold has gone ahead and popped the attack visor. Wow. They will find one pick, but Patient there to equalize as well. And now with the addition of that Sombra, they're able to get a couple more picks, and Sumter with a nice hold here, despite that attack visor coming out from Stay Mold.
Absolutely, and that was a great shutdown on Patient. Right on to Stay Mold, saying, nice ult, but listen, you can see me all you want, but I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to shut you down, brother.
And now Sumter has eclipsed the capture percentage for Army West Point, who again won that first fight, was able to get about 40% out of it. Took Sumter 2 fights, but in a lot of ways that was because they just won so quickly, and they won without expending any ultimates as well. So we're gonna see 4 online now for Sumter. I'm anticipating the again the Dragon Blade coming in with a nano boost. Dash onto the high ground. That's gonna take a couple of picks in favor of West Point, but Sumter pulled up one as well. 63% on the board now for Sumter. They're doing a great job of holding on to this point, keeping possession of it. Now Magic Pants trying to turn things around with this blade, but there's so many bubbles in between him and Zarya right now. She's able to get away with most of her health, a little bit low at the moment, and Vine taking Magic Pants out of the equation. But again, still Sumter in control of the point.
Yeah, man, that was great right there. Zarya is showing why she's so effective. Eating ulting Genji can't take her down. And just like that, Sumter is going to drop about 3 of their ults, but they still have access to the Lucio ult. Should be great for defense right there.
Ooh, and Yoshawat. A pick already. Hack comes in. Patient able to finish off Mulan. No supports left now for Army West Point. They had control of the point, but it looks like that may only be for a brief moment, as now we are in last fight territory here, Acoustics.
Absolutely. Last fight. Patient yet again showing off. I think, honestly, he's just showing off as like a superior take right now. He's putting in great work and already has his ult ready. But there's a fire in the hole!
That there is, but nobody touches! And despite a heroic effort there from the Riptire of Skiz, Sumter will take the first round.
Nice. And great work out there for Sumter. Started off rocky with losing that first fight, but then able to turn it around and keep almost complete control the entire way around.
We're going to be headed to downtown Busan next. Lots of high ground here. So, you know, typically you see the Brawl composition played more and with a little bit more success as well on Mecha Base. But USC Sumter was able to make the dive work there, which to me means it's going to only be that much more effective as we load into downtown. But of course, Patient's really going to have to make sure they stay away from Stayed Mold because he's gone the Reaper certainly to counter that Winston.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, what better way than take down Winston than with Reaper, bro? His day one nemesis.
Absolutely. Low heals, though, still on the side of Army West Point, so if Sumter can continue to pick off these supports relatively quickly, then they should continue to find some success. But already Stayed Mold forced to use the Wraith to stay out of trouble. Now going back in on the Winston. Doesn't drop the point immediately for him, instead putting some pressure into the DPS, but a boop is going to land him down on that ground, or at least almost it does. Now following Zarya instead, already up to a pretty high charge, starting to turn that attention towards Genji. It's going to be oh so hard to hit, especially when Don't Look at Me is getting so much healing into them as well. Sumter doing a great job of holding presence on point. Finally, a pick comes in. It's going to be on the TJ first. Mulan going down very low as well. Hack on the Stayed Mold. That's going to be a quick succession of picks for USC Sumter. And with that, they'll gain first possession.
Nice. And good stuff right there from Yoshawat. Perfect hacks right there. Especially the hack right there on the Reaper, just in the middle of the fight. That's what you want to do. Shut him down in the middle of a brawl. Don't give him a chance to reposition or just get out. He's a nuisance. Get him away.
He absolutely is. So now we're going to see actually Army West Point opt to move over to the dive. They're still going to keep the Junkrat in the mix as well, though. Maybe because they're at a pretty high percentage. Maybe just because as well they're particularly good at that. Magic Pants able to get a pick right off the bat, make it 2. Rock finds one as well, but they're not going to be able to capitalize on it too terribly much. They're trying to now put some pressure on that Sombra, who has to TP away once again. Stayed Mold swapping over as well to the Tracer as the rest of West Point backs off briefly.
Absolutely, back off, recompose yourself. Don't get too antsy. Sumter has access to about four ults. The minute she gets one more heal off of the Moira. Oh, but there it is. The encounter with the
Yeah, big hack. Patient able to finish off Skiz right after that. He was getting very close to that Riptire. The person who was closest to that now we see dueling sound barriers. Don't Look at Me has popped the Coalescence as well. And Sumter has so many more resources to put into this fight that they're going to cruise to another victory here in this one as well.
Absolutely. It looks like just the difference in resource management is just so good right there. Army West Point still not really able to get any percentages. By the time this next fight starts up, they will have Rock available with the ult and Shiz available with Tire. So hopefully they'll be able to make something happen. Mulan about at 85%. So going to be able, a couple more seconds, they should be able to get their ultimate as well. Oh!
What? Massive EMP! Followed up by a nasty blade from Magic Pants. That's just going to about secure this win right here. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be able to touch. It's going to be on Stay Mold, but they got hacked right before they got to point, able to get picked off by Don't Look at Me as well. This is just about over, and the boop keeps the monkey away. That is Sumter taking the first map.
I will have to say that is a clean map right there from Sumter. No percent taken. And look at that Patient showing off the play of the game. What we got here, brother?
I'm imagining, yeah, it might be one of these initial picks here on Mecha Base. Just a tremendous amount of pressure put in the right places at the right time to just clean everybody up there from West Point and give them an early lead in this competition here. Throwing me off a little bit there, Acoustics, but I love it. I love it.
Listen. I saw a dead body. I'm gonna be honest. It was not looking good for Army West Point right there. I think especially what was shown there is like one of the weaknesses of Kiriko onto a team. Especially is like her relatively low healing in comparison to the other healers. And once you lose a DPS with movement ability, she can't reposition herself as well, right? She's based off of her ability to teleport to a teammate, which is really helpful, I think, in comps where you have Genji, Sojourn, or other DPS that are great at maneuvering themselves around the map. But the minute that DPS is gone, she's stuck with the rest of the team. And if you could get a pick like Patient can, it's clap from right there.
Yeah, absolutely. The backline really being relatively vulnerable for Army West Point in that last map. But we're going to be moving on to our next one now, which will be Eichenwald. So again, this is a map that I think favors Brawl, but especially when you get to like second point around that castle, dive can become very powerful as well. So I'm anticipating we see Patient stay on the Winston because they showed such a beautiful amount of control with that Winston. I mean, a primal kill right off the bat after that first fight. So I think they're just going to go with more of the same, and it's going to be up to West Point to figure out exactly how they're going to counter this, either by changing their play style or going with a completely different comp.
Yeah, absolutely. Patient was showing like I'm not sure if he's a Winston solo main, but from what I was seeing, that looks kind of like what the case is right there. Just great positioning, great engages, especially being mindful of shield cooldown the minute he goes in, and then picking off usually the very vulnerable back line, and they're either retreating or just going right back into it. He's just been great. And even recognizing, listen, if Zarya has a bubble up, I just won't target you. All right? Listen, I'll play it smart. I'll leave the bubble alone. I can't pop the bubble. It's okay. It's okay.
It's a hard bubble to pop. It's a very difficult bubble to pop.
She lived through an entire Genji ult.
I know, right? It should be instant death. I mean, that's been my experience most of the time. But yeah, the bubbles are just absolutely absurd right now for Zarya. And in addition, right, if Kiriko is there and is able to get that protection Sozu on as well, that's another second and a half, right, of invincibility that Zarya has. So if they manage their bubbles correctly, you can survive just about anything these days with Zarya. But again, we are headed to Eichenwald, the picturesque German town, where Reinhardt's mentor met his demise. No Reinhardt on the battlefield today, at least not at the moment. Army West Point going to start on defense this time, and Rock appropriately moving to the Sigma.
Okay, nice. I like the Sigma choice. And I like the switch from Patient to Orisa. I think she's better for sieging the initial capture point than Winston is in certain situations. A Fortify is really good. Oh no, way.
I think they're messing with us. I think they're baiting us. I think they're baiting us.
Shot.
I don't believe it yet. I won't believe it until the door opens.
I believe it.
You believe it?
Do it.
It's gonna be Fist here. Oh, at the last second, swapping back over to the monkey. Maybe another time, Acoustics. We'll see the Doomfist rear his head, but for the moment, Something going with this dive again. It seemed to work well for them last time, hoping to have the same success, but the backline looking a little beefier. We've got both the Moira and the Baptiste on for Army West Point, so that's going to provide a lot of staying power and a lot of healing for Rock, so it's going to be very hard to burst them down. And actually, survivability really just a balance on this squad right now because Stay Bold, they've got their healing station, but getting pushed back very, very aggressively. One pick on each side now, about 40 seconds in to this map right now. A hack comes in as well. Accretion's gonna miss, but the spheres do not that time. Don't look at me taken out of the fight. Even situation here at the moment, but just about one tick online for Sumter. They will get one, as a matter of fact. Patient doing a lot of damage here, having a hard time finishing off members of the squad, but Milan does eventually fall. Immortality is out and gone. Hack onto TJ as well. Rock is taken out, and with that, Sumter will cap the first point.
Look at that, and there he is, yet again, getting a first ult. Patient has consistently gotten the first ult on both of these maps. My goodness.
Yeah, that's just absurd. I mean, the amount of cleave damage, though, that you can get with Winston is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, man, my man feels the monkey and he starts cooking. I respect it.
Well, now, it's going to be Armory West Point forced to back off and take a very defensive position here on the high ground. But, crucially, Rock does have Gravitic Flux in tow. Milan is going to have Coalescence as well, and that could be a nice combo here. And the sound barrier isn't up yet for Disney Queen, so if they do this quickly, they can catch them before they have got a chance to really counter it.
Alright, Yoshua does have access to EMP potentially. It's just a counter poke right there. Oh, and there's Patient going in. And there's the hack on the Sigma. Oh, and Sigma's going to be down.
Wow, huge series of hacks coming out of Yoshua. Mulan takes a trip to the dip underneath the bridge right there, and Sumter with a tremendous amount of car progress here. It's gonna be a tough contest.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a tough contest right there. Okay, and Shiz switching over to the Reaper, I think, trying yet again to counter that Winston. Didn't work out as well last time, but maybe he'll get something off for it again. Oh, and there is the sound of the dragon.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be Sumter winning this fight off the back of Magic Pants, but... and they even got the cap before Army West Point was able to mount a defense. A great job by Disney Queen just booping away the main tank Rock, and now we've got to swap over to the Zarya. I mean, Winston.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to be honest. It looks like kind of that Sumter's just running circles around them just in terms of their DPS and tanks. I think they're just putting out just a lot more utility, a lot more damage. Patient right there, just seeing start to stand everything. And the hacks from Yoshua have just been amazingly on point. And the immediately elimination of the immortality field. And there's the Winston yet again. His name is Patient, but his gameplay isn't. Get off my point, brother.
Well, it is going to be Disney Queen saying no to Stay Mold once again. So Sumter primed to finish this point. TJ does pop the amplification matrix, but unable to do any with it. Both supports are down now for Army. West Point Skiz online. Here comes Stay Mold though with the attack visor. Maybe they can find something with it, but Disney Queen pops the sound barrier instead. So no pick's going to be found for that. And Skiz gets eliminated before they can even get their first Death Blossom online. That is a blistering 4:05 on the clock for Sumter.
Wow, that is something. That is what we call in my place of business. We call that getting cooked. That is getting cooked, sautéed. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little bit of oven. Yeah, no, that was definitely not looking good right there for Army West Point. Hopefully they'll be able to take something out on offense, but this is a very hard thing to contest. 4 minutes left and with a complete capture, like I'm gonna be honest. Do you think they even capture the escort point at all?
It's going to be tough, but I mean, one good pick can just snowball into a point capture very, very easily. So, you know, if Stay Mold or Skiz is able to get something early on, then they could certainly put a damper onto Sumter's chances of holding on to this point. Especially considering they're going for a Sombra on defense as well. because when you've got that Sombra in defense, right, a lot of what she's going to do is this scouting, working in the backlines. So that means you've really only got one DPS for a while putting in damage. And if Army West Point is able to push quick enough, they can maybe get something going here before Yoshua is even able to have an effect on the Sombra.
Absolutely. I'm not sure, but it looks like Rock is out here switching to the Winston himself. Monkey see, monkey do, potentially.
I like it. Yeah, absolutely. But look at how aggressive Yoshua is going. They've spotted out the other Sombra, though, so they know they're going to have, their team is going to have one to deal with as well. Rock jumping in very, very aggressively, finds a couple of members of the back line, taking not a lot of damage initially, but Sumter with flurry of picks right off the bat. Eventually going to be able to take Rock down, and 30 seconds in, no progress gained so far for Army West Point.
Yeah, and that was just great awareness right there from Yoshua. The minute he saw that Rock had jumped in, hacked right before Q could even come up. They said, hold on, brother, you ain't going anywhere. You stay here with us for a little trip, if you don't mind.
Right? I'm not caught in here with you. You're caught in here with me, is what they said.
That's a scary, scary thought.
Absolutely, Bill. We've got the fight breaking out in earnest once again. Magic Pants making magic happen again, twice in a row. Finds Skiz, TJ taken out, and once again, that's going to be a quick reset for Army West Point.
Right there. Rock putting on great damage onto Yoshua. Yoshua managing to escape, and there's the hack on the health point yet again. He's been so great at just getting in and out of all these situations, surviving at like 50 health. Let's say, all right, I can leave now. I'll be fine.
Ooh, right. I mean, as Sombra, I feel like you really have to be comfortable with living on the edge and learning how to TP out at a moment's notice, because as soon as that other team notices you in the backline, they're all going to start peppering you down, and you can drop to 0 in the blink of an eye. So you guys have an itchy finger on that teleporter. But look at this, Yoshua coming in again. You got the swap over to Ryan from Brock. Patience has the Primal Rage. They're gonna let loose with it at the moment, looking for a target. It's gonna be Stay Bold first, and that's gotta hurt because you're there to counter that Primal Winston. That did not happen, but Rock, their rocket hammer finds Don't Look at Me. They're going to be able to take out Yoshua as well. Maybe this was the secret that they needed this whole time. Magic Pant's going to pop the blade, see if they can turn things around. Disney Queen finds the one, but there's so much present on point this point. Army West Point has one tick in the book. They're going to be able to get a second, most likely 3 here, as they clear the point of the rest of Sumter.
Nice, and clearing the point very much, pretty much like their second to last engage that they would have had. Great stuff. And potentially that switch over to Reinhardt was exactly what you needed. Listen, it's his map. Yeah, main character advantage on here. It was a great animation. I respect it.
Right, maybe he's got that plot armor, you know? He's got to make it to the end so that we can see the story unfold. But right now he's getting peppered in a lot of directions. Huge EMP. That's going to be Skiz and Stay Bold going down relatively low. Skiz does eventually fall. TJ right after them. And Sumter, they kind of picked up where they left off, and where they left off was dealing a lot of damage to West Point.
Absolutely right there. Disney Queen still has access over there to the reverb. And look at that, forcing them off the escort point, basically saying, all right, that was cute, guys, but go home. We're done here.
Right? Yeah, you captured the first point, but we're gonna make you earn every single step of the way. Stay Bold goes in very aggressively without much health. Early on has to get healed back up, but now they are right about ready to launch this Death Blossom. In the meantime, Patient has found TJ, so one player down from each squad. Primaling Patient again. This is his second, third? I don't know at this point.
Said 50? I don't know. It's been a couple of them.
Right? Well, Magic Pants finds a pick. Stay Mold eventually gets the work done on that Winston. They pop the Death Blossom as well. That in combination with the Blizzard will help them get out from underneath that first arch.
Yeah, and absolutely, and it looks like this Reinhardt pick is just paying off. Great. I honestly think, and to a lot of tanks that like to get up close, Reinhardt just such a great option. Way more DPS than honestly a tank should be having, in my opinion. But that's my personal. But that coupled in with great shielding, he's great for just holding points, right? And maybe if you can't out damage that team, maybe what you want to do is just out damage.
And here comes a
hammer.
huge shatter. A nice boot from Disney Queen to take one player off the map. But in the meantime, Sumter continuing to put the hurt on Army West Point. They're going to stop them in their tracks right here. But again, good amount of progress made here by Army West Point. But that clock is ticking down fast.
And just like that, oh, they chased my man Reinhardt right to his death. And just like that, Rock is going to go down. So he's going to be out of the fight for a little bit. Army West Point definitely just going to have to wait till regroup until Rock is back up. All right, Mr. Magic Pants trying to look for a little poke. Trying to build up some little percentage. He said, "What's another blade?" I respect it.
Absolutely. But right now, it's going to be on this EMP from Yoshawat and the Coalescence. Here come both of them, pushing back very hard against Army West Point. Both supports down once again, and that is a quick fight win for Sumter.
Wow. Just like that, pushing the envelope. 10-player kill streak right there. And the team kill. Oh, my goodness. All right, and right now, Sumter is just in complete control. They do only have patience all available for this next fight. But Army West Point doesn't have any ults up at all.
Yeah, it's going to be Skizz closest. Here comes the drop in from Patient. They go down very low, dropping back to the point. But in the meantime, a couple of picks come in for West Point. So, unable to get that Primal Rage off, maybe saving it as he saw the picks come in and the situation unfolding. 20 seconds left, though, for Army West Point before we get into overtime. So, they got to stay on this guard. And Sumter, they only have to win this one fight in order to take another map off of Army West Point.
All right, I like that. Rock pushing the envelope right there, holding the choke point with the Moira. He's at 86%. Just have to hold him to get to the door, and it looks like they're going to get to the door. Oh, there's it is. One last fight. Gets a charge, but the charge gets blocked by the payload.
Oh, my
God.
God.
We have a shatter.
Huge boot, but he gets hacked out. Huge hack coming in from Yoshawat. That might help swing things, but Rock in the meantime has found a pick. In fact, Magic Pants, despite popping the blade, not going to be able to find any value. Overtime is here, but the Coalescence from Mulan and the swinging hammer of Rock get the job done.
And that was a beautiful ult right here from Shiz too. Managing to see that, okay, Rock Shadow Strike didn't go off. I still have to do something. I have my ult. Let's drop it right here. That's all we have left. And just like that, Army West Point keeping themselves back into the fight. Offense is looking good right there. All right, Yoshua having to lead the back line, though.
Army West Point, though, with very little room for error here at the moment. Yoshawat has the EMP online, but no other ultimates currently in the equation. Here comes the EMP, though. It's going to be TJ using the sound barrier. Rock finds a kill on the Yoshawat as well immediately after they pop that. Immediately after they pop the EMP, Death Blossom comes in. Does he get the value that they wanted? Patience lets loose with the Earth Shadow, but again goes down. Magic Pants now back in the fight, able to find TJ. Skizz is hacked. They go down very low, but Stay Mold is continuing to just chunk through many of these Sumter players. There's a chance they might finish, and maybe even with time here. Shatter back online for Rock, just a couple meters to go, but the Wrecking Ball swap, they pushed it back on point. Yoshawat goes down immediately. Now, don't look at me trying to keep Wrecking Ball alive on point, but he's getting chased by the May. May finding themselves actually near the spawn at this point. 5 members strong again is Sumter, but as soon as I say that, some of them go down. Huge Coalescence coming out from Mulan. It's going to be an overtime cap here, though, for West Point, which means their only options here are a draw.
Ooh. Okay. This is still better than we expected, right? We did. I did say I thought they were going to get a point out, right? But you know what? This works as well. They are going to have to yet again play another perfect game, though. They're going to have to fight for every piece that they can get, and at best to get that draw and potentially force out another game.
But again, this draw right here, let's take a moment to talk about the time, right? Because Sumter went through this map so quickly that they've got more time now than they started with. They've got 4:05 on the clock. When those gates open, you've only got 4 minutes. So they got more than you even start with in order to try and cap this map. So this is going to have to be a absolutely stellar hold coming out from Army West Point. And again, they're going for a very sustainable comp here. In addition, Mulan is on the Mercy, which means as long as she stays alive, Rez is absolutely on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems Sumter is making a switch over to their team. Switching over to Reinhardt on Patient, which is this is the first map that he's felt the need to pull that out. And Yoshua even switching to Soldier. And don't look at me switching over to Baptiste. So they're changing up everything. They're saying, all right, it's time to pull out our final form. I respect it.
Absolutely. This is almost a meta composition, too, coming out from Sumter. Just the Reinhardt, different from the Zarya, but gonna push the point very quickly. Already 2 picks down. Mulan, crucially, is gone as well, which means that there's no res possible. Rock does find a pick, so it's only Sumter 4 strong, but there's only 1 player left on point, being the Mei. No one's gonna get back in time, and that is Sumter going up 2-0 in this series.
And it seems like the meta pick was kind of what we needed right there. Patience saying, all right, I've lost my patience with this.
Exactly. I wonder if this is going to be the boop. I think there was a boop here on the bridge from somebody. It's got to be. Yeah, they take Stayed Mold off the point. Huge play coming out from the Lucio Disney Queen. What a showing, though, from this squad so far. And we're already to map 3 here, Acoustics, which is going to be Dorado.
Ooh, Dorado, the Wild Wild West. I like it. Okay. We might see some interesting picks right there. I'm not sure if Patient is gonna switch back to the Winston. I'd like to see it. I like to see a monkey go bananas. I can't help it.
Yeah, same. Not gonna lie, I'm a huge fan of dive compositions. That's my bread and butter, you know. And Dorado is just it's a stellar place for it, right? I think Dorado, Numbani. What's the other one up there? Watchpoint Gibraltar, right? Just classic dive maps. Dive maps. And so I think this map pick just plays even further into Sumter's side. And we're gonna have to see again some major changes coming out for West Point right now because well, actually, I take that back. Their attack was good, right? They capped Eichenwald, which is a tough thing to do, right? A lot of matches end before we see that full cap. So you know, there is a lot to be commended on Army West Point's side. I think we just need to see a stronger defense coming out from them here on Dorado.
Yeah, I definitely think Army West Point showed off that they had a stronger offense in the last map than we expected them to have. I think if they shore up their defense and continue to make more adjustments as soon as possible against Sumter, they can definitely make something happen in Dorado. It's just a shame, though, that Sumter has they've sticking to dive comp literally every map except Eichenwald. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do on a map that kind of favors the way their team likes to play because they are really committed to dive. They love it. And I don't blame it because as a Winston player myself, I love it.
Oh, nice. Are you a tank main as well there, Acoustic?
I'm a tank flex. I'm a support main. But when I have to go on tank,
Gotcha.
Winston.
Yeah, no, Winston's phenomenal. Just so much utility with that hero. And it was very, very strong as well a while ago, but it hasn't really dropped too far out of the meta, regardless of where it's been so far with Overwatch 2. So always a solid pick, and Patient is just going absolutely wild on it today. But here we are in Dorado, ready to go. It is going to be Army West Point on defense first once again. So Sumter will get an opportunity to kind of set that goalpost on the attack first off.
And as I expected to see, here's a Widowmaker pick right here. And Oshawa going to Echo. No, they're trolling me again.
I think they might be trolling at the moment, yeah. But, you know, we can talk a little bit about Army West Point, right? Because they're going to be the ones who do have to set up, do have to get going. Still weighing their options, I think. And apparently Stayed Mold is still in spawn as well. But the rest of the squad starting to move to point. We're going to have TJ on the Moira and Mulan actually moving over to the Brig. And I think this is a good response because Brig can help to kind of dissuade some of these dives that we're almost certain are going to be coming in from Sumter.
Oh yeah, the nice little baby Ryan comp, as I call it. You have big Ryan and baby Ryan. You say, let me show you how we hold the point. I like that. All right, Stay Mode actually gonna stick with that soldier pick. No way, this is an actual Doomfist pick.
It is an actual Doomfist pick. Patient. Gonna try and flex a little bit here, see if they can make the Doomfist pick work. You know, I think the you know, the standard view of Doomfist right now is one of the weakest tank picks out there. You have to have exceptional mechanics, I think, on Doomfist in order to make it work, which you absolutely can. You just have to know how to go in and out exactly. And here we go, diving into the back line already after Magic Pants gets the pick on the skills. He's going to be one of those main players who's going to put a lot of pressure into Patient. But the counterattack, the counter-aggression coming out from Army West Point is swift and effective. They will be able to hold Sumter right under this bridge.
Yeah, so like I think one of the biggest problems though with like Doomfist, he doesn't do well on any of like the stronger traditional tanks. Definitely characters like Reinhardt, he doesn't do well. When he has to aim for a backline, you have to be very, very precise, right? Which is interesting because you know he doesn't throw out as much damage as he used to as a DPS. So you're trying to go for kills on squishy targets. But with a character like Briggs, I don't think Doomfist is going to be the right choice into that. And the minute I say that is the switch into Hammonds.
Love it! Wrecking Ball, my main. Him and I also share a last name. So every time he's on point, I am excited. Going in for a big slam there, but in the meantime, Stade Mold has found a pick. Patient putting a little pressure on point right now, getting a little bit of distance. But now we've got Stade Mold on the high ground, peppering them from below. And even though again, Sumter trying to put a lot of pressure on point, Army West Point still in control of the situation. Magic Pants, though, is swapped over to the Genji once again. However, Rocket Stade Mold, they're not letting anything pass. And these swaps, it doesn't look like they're actually working out so far for Sumter. I'm wondering if we don't see Patient swap back to the Winston here in short order.
Yeah, definitely. I do not think this is working out as well, but he already has about 90% on the Wrecking Ball, so he'll probably stay until he drops the ult and then switches off to either Winston, or potentially we might even see Reinhardt or even a Zarya pick. He looks like he's pretty flexible with the tank options that he does have available to him, so it'll be interesting to see. And Yoshua switching to the Sojourn. Sojourn I absolutely love on this map. I think she does great on this.
Yeah, she really does. As does Farah. I mean, this to me, this whole squad right now that we're seeing from Sumter harkens back to some of the Chengdu Hunters last year. But we got Attack Visor on point now from Stade Mold. They're going to be picked off, but not before a lot of the damage is done. Rock's still on point. Just use the Shatter. Not going to find a ton of value with a minute left to go here for Sumter. The minefield has been committed as well, but Sumter doesn't have a whole lot to show for this push.
This is really interesting. It seems this is probably Sumter's worst performance right now on all the maps. And considering they stuck with dive teams the entire time around, you think they would simply just go back to that, since it would be really helpful on this map. But right now, even Shiz is putting in great work, shutting people down with the Junkrat. Does have access to the tire as well, too. Not going to drop it out, though.
At least not at the moment. Stade Mold going down very low. We got the Coalescence now on point from TJ. It's going to be Magic Pants trying to put in some distance, put in some rockets from afar, but Disney Queen picked off. Now Magic Pants doesn't have that help. It might be dropping in for a barrage, but they get the sway to this. Stade Mold finds them. 5 seconds left to go. This is going to have to be a last moment contest here. It's going to have to be Wrecking Ball on point. They're going to drop the minefield. Yoshua goes ahead and lets loose with that overclock as well. Doesn't find anything as Stade Mold is able to outduel them once again. And overtime has been committed. Sumter just not having any luck here. Magic Pants lets loose with Barrage. They find two, but there's still a couple picks as well. Coming out for Army. West Point card now under Sumter's control. 2 members left for West Point. Skiz, let's go with the Riptire. This could be absolutely devastating for Sumter unless they can get rid of it. It's still looking, it's still moving around. Stade Mold finds Yoshua as well. And what a huge hold coming out from West Point. Stade Mold has the Attack Visor too. They let this go. It could be lights out for Sumter. They just got to make sure they're in a position where they can do something. Don't look at me getting close to the nano boost, but 2 picks in a row for Stade Mold. This is going to be all over. Army West Point picks themselves back up and hold Sumter on first.
Wow. Great work from Army West Point. Saying, listen, let me show you the defensive champions, baby. Army strong indeed for Army West Point. Oh my goodness! I will have to say this is a big surprise right here. Sumter not even be able to get past the first cap after taking the escort payload. It's gonna be interesting. Army West Point now on attack, and if they keep up this momentum, this potentially might be a way longer series than we thought it was gonna be at first glance.
Oh yeah, because I mean the first two maps, Sumter was just outplaying Army West Point just about every turn. We didn't talk about this at the time, but that the attack round from Sumter on Eichenwald, they never lost a fight. They won every single fight from first point until the third point checkpoint. So that kind of dominance being shut down so effectively by West Point, I mean that speaks volumes about this squad. Right here, it really does.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like State Mold and Shiz are kind of just picking up the slack that they were showing in their first two maps. State Mold showing great work on that Soldier 76. Even when Mr. Magic Pants tried to match him on Soldier, it just did not work out at all. And Shiz's Junkrat was putting in tremendous amount of work. But we're gonna see how this map gets started right about now. Oh.
I love this hold. I love this hold here on Eichenwald. And this makes so much sense from West Point, right? They're going to try and make sure they can get 2 fights out of this. Already, Magic Pants finds Rock, sends them back to spawn. That's another pick in rapid succession, and I don't think West Point was ready for this. However, Stade Mold able to get a pick. Immortality Field is out, and now they've got a lot of room that they can work with. And already Yoshiwa taken out as well. Disney Queen is gone. West Point, they've breathed new fire into this squad. There is new life on the field for this team.
Oh, absolutely. And right there, Yoshiwa just looking incredibly strong. Peppering Rock already there. Patient going to be down, eliminated by Trish.
And now comes the long walk back from spawn for Sumter. And they're going to get there, I think, in the nick of time in order to be able to try and contest this payload. But look at Stade Mold already waiting right near that choke point that leads to second. They're going to pop over that wall and look for an opportunity. They're going to have to make sure, though, that they deal with Yoshiwat and Magic Pants, who both swapped the hit scan. So a lot of pressure going to be going into that far. They're going to have to make sure every rocket counts.
Absolutely. Right now, getting a lot out there. Oh, it did!
There it is.
From Yoshiwat.
There it is. That's what they needed. However, the rest could still come in. They're not camping that spot, but in the meantime, Patient pushing forward, finding a couple of picks. Mulan does drop back, so they're not going to be able to get that res. And a beautiful hold here coming out from Sumter, even getting that final pick onto Rock. That's a big stack.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an amazing stagger right there. And Yoshiwat is pulling out the Cole Cassidy, the best gunslinger in the West.
Appropriate, right? We're heading out west to Dorado. Of course, you're going to see Cassidy make an appearance here. 4 ults about to be online for Sumter. 2 already in the pocket. Army West Point lagging behind, but what's different about that is all 5 of their team pretty close to an ult. Disney Queen lagging behind quite a bit. Gonna be a nice Shattered let loose by Patient. 2 picks come off of that. Army West Point, though, fortunately hasn't spent anything in this fight. They're getting a little bit of card progress right now, but Sumter going to be able to drop onto it, contest the payload, and make sure that they don't get much further.
Absolutely, right there. Sumter going to take the high ground, waiting to react. Ooh, there we are, going right in, aiming for the Moira in the back line. Blink away, though.
Huge pick coming out early, but Stade Mold finds a triple K with the barrage. Sumter's in trouble right now because it's just Disney Queen and Patient on point. Disney Queen doesn't have that sound barrier ready. A lot of car progress being made. Charge comes back, but they're not in time. That's going to be Army West Point starting to claw their way back in this series.
Oh, and that was beautiful right there. The combination between Stray Molds and Rock managing to take that. That has to be play of the game. That has to be the play of the game.
Oh, yeah. That was huge. I mean, that won the game right there. Actually, is it going to be this barrage? It doesn't look like it. It's going to be that first approach where we saw them get a lot of progress here. And yeah, they were able to take Yoshiwat out as well. Big heads-up play coming out of the far there for Army West Point. So kudos to them. And hey, Acoustic, we got a series on our hands.
Listen, we got a series now. I like to see listen. It's not about the size of the dog in the fight. It's about the size of the fight in the dog. And in Army West Point, clearly they show you how to bring the dog out, and they got that dog in them. Finally taking a map. It's now 1-2. Potentially, this could be their way to claw all the way back to victory. It seems the DPS is woken up. Rock is woken up. Far Mercy is on deck. Who knows what we might see next?
That is right. Army West Point is activated, so Sumter's got to look out. You know, a big thing I think in Overwatch is you always got to respect your opponent, right? And Sumter maybe getting a little bit overconfident on that last map, trying to flex a little bit. Didn't quite work out, so I'm anticipating we're going to see a return to the Winston here from Patient.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think like Winston was definitely one of the stronger tanks, and he was comfortable playing it. Their dive comp even into situations where the dive comp wasn't the most optimal. So potentially we might see it back here on this next map. We might even just see the full meta pick. I'm not sure if Patient has his Zarya, but a bubble's a bubble.
A bubble's a bubble's a bubble, you know? So yeah, it's gonna last, you know, it's gonna last the same time as anybody else's. So you know, with the finesse that we've seen Patient play with, I would imagine they can make Zarya work, but so far they haven't had to. But then again, maybe should have made it a thing. But we're going to be headed on to a new map here, Acoustic. Let's see here. We will be going to Esperanza, our first push map of the night. And in all of the push maps, right? Because we've got to believe 3 of them out right now, right? We've got New Queen Street, we've got Esperanza, and we've got Coliseum, right? This one I think provides the most cover out of any of the push maps. So whereas some of these long-distance DPS, I think, are very viable on the other 2 push maps, not necessarily the case here. So I think Brawl has a better chance of succeeding, which might play into Army West Point a little bit.
Yeah, Army West Point definitely seems to do better into the Brawl comp, in my opinion. I've played on this map a lot, funny enough. I've always, for some reason, I don't know why I get this map like the most out of so many people, but I definitely like certain DPS into this situation. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record again, but I think Sojourn, Moira, repositioning DPS, repositioning healer is really good into this. Even potentially the Sojourn Kiriko pocket is really good, right? Because Sojourn goes in the back line using her movement ability, and Kiriko just follows right back up where her blink. And potentially you could get rid of 2 black line off of that immediately. But
yeah.
You know, we're going to see. It looks like, again, of course, we're going to keep out the Lucio. No reason not to give up the speed. And there's the Moira pick for Mulan, which I think is really good. And don't look at me going for the Ana, but where he is, Mr. Magic Pants, pulling back out the Genji. It might be Nano Blade time again.
It absolutely might be Nano time indeed. And you know, I like the Ana pick here a lot for USC Sumter, because not only can you commit it to the Genji, right, for the Nano Blade, but you can put it on the Winston as well. And we know that Patient is very, very deadly with those Primal Rages. So if you're able to use that Nano to help Patient build up, then that's just going to be absolutely huge. But already, 2 early picks in for USC Sumter. Looks like they're back to their old tricks now with Winston on the menu.
Oh, look at that. We have Winston, Sojourn, Genji, Lucio, Ana. I think this is what we choose. We want to win comp. I think that's what we call this one.
Yeah, I think that's the case as well. And again, Patient just about lapping everybody in the lobby, already up to about halfway.
45.
Yeah,
oh my
halfway to the Primal already. Huge numbers being put out by Patient. Yoshua putting in a nice disruptor shot as well, but going very, very close to the squad, which is now dropping on them. In fact, you're going to be able to take them out. However, Magic Pants and Patient looking to turn things around now. Now 1 player advantage to Sumter, and in addition, no supports online again for Army West Point. I gotta say, the target focus and priority from Sumter has been absolutely phenomenal here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think when they really have their head in the game, their ability to just pick off the right targets, or just let Patient mark the target, literally. Let the monkey jump at him and electrocute him and say, we go for this one. And then we take out the rest. And honestly, that's been working out amazing.
And you know what's fascinating, too? Look at this. Typically in one of these comps, you see the Ana outpace the Winston, right? They use the Nano boost to get them the Primal Rage, but no! Patient has outpaced them. They're losing the Primal Rage already, but in the meantime, Rock has found Magic Pants, and nobody getting picked off yet by Patient. They're able to sustain through a lot of it. Maybe a bit off a little more than they can chew. Now Yoshawat looking for help as well. Finds the Disruptor shot, gets a little bit of damage, but Stade Mold is there to take them out. Gonna be able to push forward quite a bit, maybe even regain control of this card, but a lot of progress for USC Sumter off of really just one fight win. Magic Pants is back in it, though. They're not giving up just yet. Patient doing a little bit of damage, but it will eventually go the way of West Point.
Yeah, absolutely. So in these push maps, what's really important is oftentimes you will see teams not even make it to the end point on either side. But usually whoever can control past that first point or whoever can push you closer to the end usually just puts himself in a really great position, right? It's a constant back and forth for 8 minutes. I think it's often a more of a marathon than a sprint than you'll see in a lot of other maps, right? You want to time yourself. You want to have a great resource management. And right in time, we're going into here's the Dragon Blade. It's this back line and the Coalescence. Oh, no!
Magic Pants finding the magic once again, but Rock shaking USC Sumter's world right now, finding 3 picks and turning around a fight that, by all estimations, Sumter was about to win. A huge turnaround from West Point, but they had to use 3 ults for it.
Yes, absolutely. They did have to use 3 ults, but they still have a great defensive ult and a great offensive ult. So they still have a pretty good, decent combination, but maybe that's what you want, right? You want to force out this situation as soon as possible to get as much cap time as you can. There's still 6 minutes left, so you still have plenty of time to work with. But this situation right now, Rocket is looking so good.
Yeah, Patient gonna be able to get a lot of damage in. Couple of quick picks courtesy of the DPS of Sumter. TJ does pop the sound barrier. Everybody's still following despite that. And Sumter gonna try and pick up where they left off on this point, but got a little bit of ground to make up first. So West Point's gonna have another opportunity to defend before they actually put more distance on the board.
The good thing about the pushback with the robot, he hauls it a little bit. He realizes you're on the time crunch, so he doesn't take his sweet time. Nice. And this is the point last time where they ended up actually losing this fight against Rock when Patient dropped it, but Mr. Magic Pants managing to get the kill on Chiz.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge because now Patient has free reign to just try and do as much damage as they can to this Army West Point squad. You're going to be able to take TJ out of the fight now, but Skiz is back in it as well. We're going to see Patient drop back the point. Probably just give a little bit of room, pay a little bit of respect to Army West Point, but now Sumter has put more distance on the push bot. They're up to over 100 meters right now, which means they're just about 1 fight away from victory. Yoshawat already able to take Mulan out. That's huge. It's going to be only Lucio heals, which are not that great. Skiz does find 1 pick. Having to drop back, though, towards spawn in order to get some heals. And getting chased by Patient as well, who has another Primal Rage online. This is absolutely last fight territory here for Army West Point. These ults from Rock and Skiz gonna have to be huge. Shatter lands, 2 players on the ground, but they got the Coalescence out to help sustain them. While they wake back up, Disney Queen uses the sound barrier as well. Stade Mold is down. Gonna be Mulan now popping the Coalescence as well, trying to keep their team alive, keep their team up, but they're having a hard time doing it. However, Skiz and TJ gonna be able to get a couple of picks. No more DPS left for Sumter. So West Point with 4.5 minutes to go, stop the bot at the last moment possible.
Wow, and great turnaround right there from Sumter. TJ now having ult on deck. Stay hold, 83%. Rock, 75%. And Rock has been getting great usage out of each one of his ults, shutting down with either a counter ult or just getting about a good backline wipe or even a team wipe. So it's going to be great to see what they do. Throws out the Biotic Orb, doesn't catch anyone with his own. Look at that, pushing all the way back to mid. Potentially, this could be it, but Sojourn with the ult into the backline.
We're gonna get that Disruptor shot off first. Here comes the ultimate now, layering those railgun shots, but a big pick from Stade Mold and a shatter from Rock. You're gonna turn things around for Army West Point. Patience paid off this time, and they'll get to continue to make space up.
All right, someone owes Stade Mold and Rock dinner vouchers or something after this match, because right now they are putting in an insane amount of work. Stade Mold actually counter-ulting against Yoshawat the minute he realizes Sojourn has a railgun on deck. He's just been on point with just reactions and just picking out Yoshua and Magic Pants. He's just staying aware of them the entire time on the map.
He really, really is. And that kind of awareness is only going to lead to success. Here comes Mulan with the Coalescence now. State Mold going down low. They're going to have to put some healing into them. Page is going to be able to take them out first, but a pick on the Yoshua as well means things are even. Now we got the Blade online from Magic Pants, but it's going to be the Primal that lands first. Still a lot of damage being done by Magic Pants. Patient's going to be able to find another pick, and DJ goes down as well. And with that, Sumter picks up the pace again.
Alright, so Sumter's going to have a long walk right away back to the other point. Definitely not going to be able to get all the way there. Probably about midway, potentially, before they have to run into another fight. And interesting, though, that we haven't seen a switch from Yoshua onto potentially the Sombra here. The Sojourn is putting in great work, but a Sombra counter pick might not be too bad against one of these last fights right here.
It can really shut things down, especially Coalescence from Don't Look at Me. Or rather, something coming out from Army West Point. The Coalescence is going to do a lot of work here for Sumter. They will win this fight, so they're going to be able to push this spot forward once again, ever closer to that victory line.
Yes, absolutely. They are inching their way towards victory. They can practically taste it. Disney Queen having their ult online. Patient only has 61%. Mr. Magic Pants about 66. So it's going to be a hard fought last battle. And there's the Earth Strike, says it, and hammered down, but gonna miss everyone right there.
Looking to be sneaky with it, throwing that out behind the bot, but nobody falls for it this time around. Now the sound barrier for Army West Point means they're going to be able to push forward once again. Here comes a Death Blossom. It will find a pick. No more supports left for Sumter, so Army West should just clean this up and get the bot back under their control.
Yet again, this is what I said about these situations with these type of push maps. A lot of the time, if teams are evenly skilled, it definitely goes to whoever was pushed it the farthest within those first couple of minutes. Because now it's like, okay, I don't really have to sprint against you. I can focus towards around gearing, towards defense and everything. And I could go for hard pushes just to push myself into the lead. And right now, Sumter trying to make something happen. Right, this wing, just trying to hold on. And there's a Sojourn already there. And we're going to drop it.
Gonna be a pick on each side. Yoshua looking for something with the railgun. It's gonna be Magic Pants who finds the picks, though. Yoshua eventually does take one down. And now with 30 seconds left to go, this is Army West Point's last fight. They have to come in big here. This Coalescence gonna have to be huge.
Yeah, this Coalescence is gonna have to be beyond huge. It has to be bigger than me. And I'm a pretty big guy. This is gonna have to be a big one.
That it is. Rock, though, they will be able to get their shatter as long as they're able to stay alive through it. It'll only take one swing, realistically, for them to get it. Oh, but they got to get to the point first. All right, Army West Point has taken control of the bot once again. Overtime will be committed. Here's the engage from Patient. They've dropped in. Blade online. Magic Pants finds Skiz. Mulan lets loose with the Coalescence. Things are turning around, though, for Army West Point. They may be able to sustain themselves through this. Winston now on point, but there's not much they can do. Yoshua should fall shortly after this as well. And Army West Point, they're surviving by a thread, but crucially, they are surviving.
They are surviving, and Rock yet again managing to shut down Mr. Magic Pants before he does too much damage to the entire team. Even counter ulting with that Shatter Strike. Great work from them right there. And Rock is gonna have to keep the team in. But hold on, this could have been a backline pick right here from Yoshua.
Even one pick here for Sumter could be absolutely devastating. If they're able to get even a little bit of an advantage, they could drive this to victory. Crucially as well, they're going to get their ults online first, but Yoshua bites off more than they can chew, and now TJ has the sound barrier as well. Sumter opting to draw back and regroup because they know they only have to win one fight, so it's not worth it to go in short-staffed.
Absolutely. And when you have everything to lose and nothing to gain, no reason to risk it all at the casino, baby.
Exactly right, but Army West Point, they need to take this slow. Already, Rock has found Patient. No Primal Rage going to be online this time around. Magic Man's trying to turn things around. They found a pick onto Mulan. Sound Barrier has expired now, though, and Yoshua lets loose with the railgun. TJ does eventually find them. In fact, they're going to get another. What is this? Army West Point coming back again. TJ just has to stay alive because Patience is back in the fight. Big charge coming out from Rock now to keep that Primaling Winston away. Winston gonna just try and boop everybody off the point if they can. Blizzard comes in as well. It's gonna be Rock almost taking the fight, almost taking him off point. Now Mulan with the Coalescence gonna see if they can drive things home here as well. Army West Point again hanging on by a thread. State Mold wants to get this Death Blossom online, and they're oh so close to it. If they let loose here, which they do, they may be able to turn this again. They find Don't Look, and Disney Queen is down as well, though. Magic Advance with the blade, gonna see if they can turn it, but there's no supports left for Sumter. It's gonna have to be without any help at all. State Mold finds one, no supports anywhere to be found. It's just down to the DPS and tanks of both squads. And it's West Point coming up big again. 30 meters left to go before they can get to continue this potential reverse sweep, Acoustic.
Oh my goodness. And this is potentially want to be a giant upset yet again. Rock playing out insane damage output. But can we even talk about TJ managing to get the hit, the kill right there on Yoshiwai? And this is the counter pick Sombra that I said was going to come sooner or later.
And here comes the Primal now from Patient. They have been so deadly with it, and Army West Point short-staffed right now. TJ still trying to make their way back, but there's no more supports again for Sumter. West Point turning it around again. Mulan has a Coalescence as well. Ryan does go down, so no more Rock to be found. It's going to be a tight one for West Point if they're able to make it work. Whoa! They find Yoshua as well. 10 meters left to go, but the spawns are in Sumter's favor. Disney Queen pushes out, but they're meeting the Coalescence. They're taken out before they can do anything about it. 5 meters now, we see the golden box of victory, and Army West Point looking to be cruising to another victory. This one may go the whole distance here, Acoustic. And right now, the momentum absolutely in West Point's favor as the Death Blossom lands.
My God!
Only one player left on point. Yoshua trying as hard as they can, but they're not able to do that. The push bot's moving. I don't think anybody's going to touch. Moira is here at the last moment, 92% to a call, but it doesn't matter. West Point ties it at 2 apiece.
Wow! Oh my goodness.
What is this game, Acoustic? What is this match?
They're learning as they fight. Oh, let me see that play of the game, Rock. Swing that hammer, baby.
Right? I mean, it was huge Herculean effort there from Army West Point to turn this train around. The reverse sweep, it is real here, Acoustic. Because now it just comes down to this one map. Just one map going to determine everything here today between these two squads. And I mean, what a showing coming out from West Point, because again, they were getting outplayed so hard by Sumter. But they figured them out. They dug deep. They found the magic.
The first two maps told a story of two entirely different teams, right?
Yeah.
We assumed, okay, Sumter looks like they just have this on lockdown. This is complete, right? And then we get to Eichenwald, and now we see the beauty of, okay, hold on, maybe Army West does have something they can show us. Their defense is strong. They're pulling out, and then by the time we get to Dorado, we're like, oh, wait, hold on, that's game one. Esperanza now, it's 2 apiece. And we're going to Ilios for our next map. Oh.
That's right. Ilios, I think, is a great place to end things, right? Because that's what's going to happen. No draws possible here. So this will be decided on Ilios, right? And each of the sub-maps that you find on Ilios, I think, provide such interesting opportunities because, you've got the long sightlines of ruins that really play well to the snipers. Then you move on to Well, which is that tight point with just the gaping hole in the middle, right? That you have to avoid at all costs. And then you move on to the third point as well, where the point is just, it's so enclosed, right? But you're on the precipice everywhere too. So you got to watch your footing there as well. So really interesting options, I think, that are going to be here for both squads. And we've seen a variety of looks from both, and I anticipate they're going to be putting their best foot forward here on the last map.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? If you're Army West Point, in terms of mental, you're absolutely ecstatic, right? Everyone was ready to count you out, and you proved, listen, we're still in this. We're still in this. We can take this. If you're on Sumter, though, you have to start thinking to yourself, okay, what are we doing wrong? We started off joking, right? And then we pump stomped at the beginning, and then we started joking around. We didn't finish him off, and now it's like, okay, we took him serious again. Wait, hold on. When did they get this good? When did they start upgrading in the middle of the fight? All right. And now you're like, we could potentially lose this from a 2-0 lead. We are the Golden State Warriors of Overwatch teams right now.
Right? Yeah, they gotta stave that off as best they can. And this is really turned into something here, K-Stick. And I can't wait to see how this goes, because I think there's gonna be a knockdown, drag him out affair here on Ilios. And we're gonna be heading into the game here pretty shortly, as both these squads I know are itching to figure out who's gonna come away with the win here today. And it's up for grabs. But you know what I gotta say though, the momentum, it's in Army West Point's favor right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The momentum is absolutely in Army West Point. Like that. If I'm on them, I'm on cloud 9. We're the main characters of the anime. We just got through our losing arc, and now we're telling people, "Hey, listen, look at us. Show some respect." The music is playing in the background, all the theme music you could think of, and we're just ready to go into Game 5, right?
Yeah.
If anything, if you're Sumter, you want this break right now. You have to. We need to reanalyze everything, take a breather, reset. Go into Ilios with a fresh mindset, and everyone needs to bring their A game.
They really do. And I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe we need a workout montage or something for Sumter to get him back in this. But we're going to be headed to Ruins first here, Acoustic. So, again, entirely possible we're going to see some of these long-range DPS come out. But at least at the moment, not seeing that on the books. The longest range person here right now, don't look at me on the Ana.
Listen, you said long range DPS. Did you mean long range support? I think
yeah, right? Apparently that's what I meant. Yeah. Sorry, I misspoke there.
and let me tell you how serious Patient has gotten. This is the Zarya pick that I was wondering if we were ever going to see. It is full meta time. Bubble trouble. Out here.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Yoshua, hunting for the opportune hack right now, really taking their time, playing this patient. Rock gonna be able to find Don't Look at Me right off the bat. Disney Queen going down very low as well. Hack will go out on the TJ, but nobody doing anything about it at the moment, with Mr. Magic Pants falling again. First point, first capture firmly in favor of Army West Point.
Nice. Gets hacked right out of the charge, but it's not going to save them at all. Rock showing that he's the foundation that Army West Point is built on. He is the shield and the savior, and they're going to be able to get that cap right there.
50% on the board now, and look at this. I mean, this is such a switch from what we saw before. Rock was 60% now. Double patience. Old percentage. But of course they did swap over to the Reinhardt to match.
Yeah, but even on the Zarya, they were only about, I think, 26% before they switched. Possibly a bit higher. I think possibly a bit higher. Oh, no!
Wow. We didn't even get to talk about that fight. It happened so fast there, Acoustic.
It was 1-2 and done.
Yeah. An early pick coming out in favor of Sumter, but the shatter from Rock just it kept anything else from happening. They were able to clean up in a split second, and now over halfway there to taking this first sub map.
All right. And right there, Sumter going in on the right side. Rock yet again needing to match him. And Mr. Magic Pants going to take down Stay Mold right there.
Patient does get hacked, though. Don't Look at Me forced to use the Immortality field. They go down, though, to a Fire Strike from Rock. And that's a huge pick, though, in favor of Sumter. Is it going to be enough, though, as the Army West Point still getting the lion's shares of the kills. Magic Pants does find Rock, so this is not necessarily over, but the Sumter, they need to win this quickly, otherwise they're going to be putting themselves in potentially last fight territory if Army West Point gets control of the point again.
Yes, absolutely. They are managing to capture the point right there. Stay Moldo at 92%, Shiz over at 81, Rock 74, TJ 83. They could potentially just do a long, drawn-out fight right here, build up all their ults, and kind of just end this in the next fight.
They could, but it's going to be Sumter with 5 ults online as well. Don't look at me, able to get a pick. Magic Pants pops the blade as well. The Coalescence is there from Mulan, but it's going to be the slicing and dicing from Magic Pants that gets the job done this time. And, well, that's the first of a few fights that Sumter is going to have to win back-to-back in order to take this, because West Point is at 89%. They take control. It's going to be a scuffed final fight, even if Sumter gets one.
Absolutely. This final fight is definitely going to be gearing up to be something crazy. West Point does have 4 ults on deck, and there's the big EMP from Shiz.
Yeah, absolutely huge. Yoshua goes down low. Skiz will be able to find a pair of picks. Stade Mold coming in huge as well, so it isn't over. They're going to try and flip the point behind it. We've got members of Sumter now dropping back to point, but look at this. Stade Mold coming in with a Death Blossom as well. It's going to be Milan finding a pick. Magic Pants counters with one of their own. Hotly contested point right here, but it will go in favor of West Point. 90% on the board. This is going to be, again, a scuffed final fight here from Sumter, and somebody has to touch point. Hack comes in to Ryan. Are they going to be able to get the point? Barely. 2 huge picks in favor of West Point. They should be able to win this one. Overtime ticking down. And in a moment here, it's going to be Sumter in a position they haven't found themselves in yet, and that is behind Army West Point.
Oh, my goodness. Oh my goodness. And just like that, Army West Point for the first time in this series is up against Sumter. Oh, and there it is. I think this is well right here.
No, this is gonna be it's not Lighthouse. For whatever reason, I'm blanking on the name of this one sub-map here. It's bothering the life out of me. It might be Lighthouse, actually. I think it is.
I think it is Lighthouse.
Yeah, I think it is Lighthouse, but oh wow, this is Army West Point on match point, right? They just have to win one more sub-map.
Oh my gosh. What a story for West Point if they win this here. You know Sumter have to be talking to each other like, guys, we need to get together.
They do. The mental has to be on point here, right? Because they don't have much room for error. They can lose a couple of fights, but not that many. In this map, or if we get to the next one, that one as well. But it's gonna be West Point taking control of the point first. TJ finds a pick on the Don't Look at Me. It's gonna be Rock trying to take the other Reinhardt off the map. Stops just short, but line share the kills again, going in favor here of Army West Point. They seem to have found the secret to success here. Patient does find a kill, but they're gonna be hacked into oblivion. Joshua tries to make something happen. They get hacked out of their TP. It's going to be Automatic, and Skiz just hunts them down.
And Shiz to switch over to Sombra. Shiz say, I'll pay a little Sombra to myself. You know what I'm saying? I got some hacker skills.
I wish I did. It was the first hero I wanted to play in this game, and I'm just terrible at her. It just doesn't work for me.
I'm just terrible at all DPS, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm a tank main with no brain, you know, no aim tank main right there. Immortality used so fast. Rock throws down the hammer as soon as it expires. We're going to see them now trying to push on the point that will be Sumter trying to take control of it, but look at this. The kills just coming in hand over fist in favor of West Point. They are feeling themselves right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that was a great counter engage to trying to get in. And right now, Sumter's just struggling to find any footing at all in the match. Shiz with insane hacks right now, shutting them down the minute anyone gets in. And I like this. You either focus the hacks on either Ryan or Yoshua. The minute either of them try to get in, and it's great. And there it is, trying to get the pick yet again.
Gonna be Yoshua going down very low. Patient does get knocked down. Rock finishes up that pick. The Coalescence doing what it needs to do. And now Army West Point, they're not quite there, but they're almost to last fight territory.
Oh yeah, absolutely. At most, you got about 2 fights left. It depends. You don't want someone to get picked off right now. If someone gets picked off, they essentially just ruin this next fight for you, right? Because now you don't even have another chance to recalibrate yourself. And the big EMP into the shatter. Oh my God!
That EMP shatter was devastating. 6 seconds left for for Sumter to try and touch. There's not going to be a recontest. Army West Point completes the reverse sweep.
Oh my God!
What a match!
Jeez. Wow, the big EMP into the shatter. That was amazing. Spacing, timing, everything coming together into a beautiful form. Even though this is play of the game right here, I'm going to be honest. If I was the game, I would have had to choose that last fight play of the game.
Oh, yeah, that was just beautifully executed. There was nothing Sumter could have done in that situation. And what a heartbreaker for Sumter, but an absolutely heroic, Herculean effort by Army West Point to just claw their way back in this game from down from such a rough spot, because we can't stress this enough, I don't think, that Sumter was just fully in control of this map, or this match, through the first 2 maps.
They were in control the first 20 minutes. First 20 minutes of this, they were in full control. We were set on them just winning. We were like, oh, okay, all right, this is something to win. Team diff, GG. Let's wipe our hands and move on to another one. But Army West Point showing the difference between Army and civilians right there. That is
the Iron Mental. The Iron Mental, I feel like, you know?
That is definitely the Iron Mental right there. To come back from a 2-0 situation like that. And then for the last map, they essentially, what happened to them at the beginning of the game, they turned it back onto Sumter.
They absolutely did. Well, I don't know about you, Acoustic, but I need to catch my breath after that. So we're going to throw it to a short break here, but we're going to see if we can get an interview from one of the members of Army West Point to close out this match. So don't go anywhere. We will be back very soon.
Anymore, and like Smash was something I always cared about and always wanted to do, so I quit work, and with the money I had saved up, I pursued Smash for like a year and a half, and like that phase just kind of ended, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. Like I wasn't like making a lot of money through it, but it was something I was passionate about, something I wanted to do, and I'm really glad that I did it, and I hope that other people can consider like following their passions like that, but also with proceeding like with caution, doing what is available to them, you know, and just finding like who they are and what makes them happy, I guess.
Thank you so much again for your time and doing this interview with me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Is that we don't have these preconceived notions, and we're willing to listen to our membership and read the room, read college athletics and how it's connected and how it's not, and take what we have expertise in championships, but also throw out some of the other stuff. I remember when we first started, there were some conferences were applying their amateurism rules to all of their esports competitors, and I think we knew enough to know that no, that's not going to work in an esports culture. It's got to be very different. And by the way, the NCAA was going in a different direction. You could see that Train had already left the station on that, and so it's an incredibly dynamic area and ever changing, and will continue to change. And just as we didn't know when we started what it's going to be looking like, I think similarly we still don't know what it's going to be in another 5 years. I know enough to know that all of us are still going to have a thriving esports program that's doing a real good service for our members and for our competitors. But we still don't know necessarily what some of that is going to look like, and that's pretty cool about it all. Let me ask you this, because you all are used to dealing with your athletic directors, and each of them are dealing with what's in front of them in their athletic departments. My guess is at least some of your schools are that this is not necessarily operating within the athletic department. And can you talk about how you navigate that in a conference office And maybe the best way to handle that, or do you have preferences? Do you try to steer them one way or the other? And just talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Sure. The majority of our schools are not under the athletics umbrella. We have one institution that perhaps by next year will be under the auspices of athletics, but most of them are in other departments across campus.
Right.
One of the things that has helped us is that we have support from the president's office. And so in order to participate in Mountain West events, you have to have an adult non-student administrator that oversees that, the eSport program. And that's where we get assistance with, eligibility checks and, what, please complete your roster, things like that. I don't know in the future, and it depends on, who's sitting in the athletics director's chairs, whether or not more esport teams will go under the umbrella of athletics. And I'm kind of indifferent in terms of whether it should, because I don't want esports to go down the road that some conventional sports have gone down with the NCAA. So we have a unique opportunity to kind of craft esports in a way that fits what esports is, as opposed to trying to fit it into a conventional athletics box, so to speak.
Right.
I think the success of our program and getting participation is exactly that. The fact that we're not tying it in necessarily to athletics and NCAA eligibility. Like Carolyn, we probably have 3 or 4 schools that are under athletics. And I know it puts them in a difficult position sometimes trying to make some decisions. I got a request recently to consider allowing part-time students to participate during this year, because some schools struggle sometimes to fill out all the games that they want to play with us. And we held off on that for now. We defer to the institution and say, what's your policy for those that are under student development or activities? What's your policy for allowing students to participate? And if you certify that they're eligible under your current policies, then that's good for us. I also think, and I was part of some of the conversations early on with the NCAA years ago about the NCAA getting involved as a Division II representative, and I was crossing my fingers that wouldn't happen, just because I think this needs time to grow, and expand.
Can I ask a question, because you mentioned part-time enrollment, and one of the things that we've done here is that as a conference, we've just set eligibility standards, full-time enrollment, making progress towards your degree as the institution defines it. Are you guys doing something like that as well? Because we've gotten that part-time enrollment question and we've said no. Yeah,
no, I don't think we've gotten that far down the line, Carolyn, to ask for that. I think we kind of put it on the institution, but we do say that the student has to be a full-time. Now, they could be a full-time grad student, but they have to be full-time as from what the institution decides.
Yeah, our eligibility requirements are just as simple as can be. You have to be a full-time student in good standing.
Yes.
And after that, and that's about it. Now I think we wanted as few impediments to getting this thing rolling as possible in the outset. I do think as schools get more competitive, they will start to distrust one another, and that's why we have this 500-page NCAA manual, because schools distrust one another. But we're not there yet. Right now there's still a collective, let's move this forward. And the fact that the NCAA is not administering it, I think, is really helpful to the growth of it all. And yes, we allow grad students. We don't even have a 4 or 5 year clock. If you are full-time enrolled for 10 years in good standing, you can do, and why not? Why would we not say that that's okay? Now, eventually, like I said, we may change our minds if the schools require it. They say, no, this is crazy. Look what they're doing over there. We don't like, but I think we're still a long way from that. Alex, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything that really Carolyn has said. You're gonna have to forgive me. What was the original question? It's been a minute. I know. I'm sorry.
Well, just kind of what you set out to do, and then what maybe the realities of it all.
And there's so many other jobs as well that
That's
can
right.
translate out of this experience in esports. The only path is not just as a player. I think all of us are representative of jobs in esports, but it mirrors traditional sports in pretty much the same way. You've got, broadcasters, you've got production people, you've got marketing and sales, and now NIL and things like that. But really, esports is kind of a great accelerator for a lot of new businesses that are coming up in the metaverse and Web3, and there's a lot of new technology that is going to be needed. And so these STEM students that are also esports athletes are really the future workforce and leaders of tomorrow. And us, as well as all of our brand partners that we work with, really recognize this. And I think that's really, a key driver of why brands are in this space. They want to be part of building that future workforce and leadership and shaping it and supporting it. So, yeah, it's been a very interesting space to watch.
And we offer such a big, we offer such a big counterpart to traditional sports also, because it's a counterpart, but it's also the same, is what I'm trying to say. Because when you're traditional sports and they're done after their 2-a-day workout and they're done after their practice scrim, they're coming home to play Call of Duty and relax and put their feet up and get a drink and play video games. It grows their brain, problem-solving skills, and their hand-eye coordination while they're home. Hand-eye coordination, if you're a football player, massive skill. So it helps build those things while they're off the field. And then for us, vice versa, if you're an esports athlete, one of the errors I had growing up when I was competing in esports is that I was not active enough. I played sports, I competed a little bit, but I wasn't active enough truly when I look at it. So that's one area that esports players can learn from in terms of activity and physical and the marrying of both. People say, oh, sports and esports, video games. Not really. We're just kind of the tech industry's competitive form of competition, as to where traditional sports are more physical, hands-on. So I believe in the marrying of these two sectors and that they actually live together while also being counterparts.
Well, I think then to speak to something about marrying, right, from traditional to esports, that to me speaks to this whole new thing, at least again from you guys, right? You guys have more traditional sports background, right? Paul, Lee, Mike, and all of that. But I think let's talk NIL then, because I think that's something that I think is really interesting, that at least when I heard about it, right, of what we're trying to do with, esports athletes, schools, programs in general, because it wasn't something you would think normally, right? You could understand, right, football player on the field, star quarterback, it makes sense, right? The guy is somebody that everybody knows on campus, whether you're on the team, off the team, or you're just going to the school, it makes sense. But I think, nowadays it's not as common, or people don't think that they could be somebody that their name is out there, right? Or that they're known, right? As we're growing this space, as we're putting this together, it almost feels really interesting that, your star entry in Valorant, or your star forward on Rocket League, right? Whatever the case might be, now they can have NIL deals. It's a thing out there. And I think, I don't know, maybe Mike, you want to start off? But
yeah. I think, thank you for teeing that up. So I was talking for too long. I forgot to bring NIL into the mix. So it's a common occurrence, occupational hazard. So I would say that, so NIL for I'm sure most of you watching understand what it is, but NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. Name, image, and likeness, that term has been utilized.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. We have got the foundation of the Army West Point squad in here for the interview. That is right. Welcome, Rock, to the broadcast. First off, Rock, congratulations on truthfully, one of the most exciting matches I have seen in a long time, and certainly one of the most impressive reverse sweeps I have ever seen.
Thank you. It was exciting. Edge of our seat the whole time. Our emotions went crazy. It was awesome. Loved it.
Well, to start things out here, let me just ask you, what did you all have to do to come back from honestly getting dominated in those first two maps by Sumter? because they were just looking absolutely stellar, and to come back and in a reverse sweep like that, is something big had to have happened, some kind of a shift during that matchup. So tell me, what was it that gave you the success in the last half of this game?
It was a massive adaptation, because initially we were going in there saying we want to do Zarya, want to do a little bit of Sigma, maybe even dive if need be. And then they came at us with that constant hard dive, with that monkey, with that aggression straight to our backlines. And none of what we had gone in here with before worked even a little bit. We tried to dive a little bit. It didn't work. They just are a lot better at diving. So we said, all right, screw this. We're just going to go hard brawl as hard as we can. Swap to Ryan. I don't even like Ryan. I never play Ryan. I play Zarya and Sigma, a little bit of monkey. And so we just had to complete swap everything that we were doing, complete change of play styles in every way. We went back to our roots. We went back to hard shot calling so much, because the first two maps, we were just a little slow, but they were just dominating us. We just changed our mindset completely, and it worked.
Wow, absolutely amazing, Rock. I have to say, and you even look like a reliable fellow. In terms of mental, I have to ask, where was your team after like map 2, right? And what was the process in just improving right there?
Well, at the end of map 1, we were kind of like kicking ourselves a little bit. We're saying, all right, we're still in this. We got this. Map 2 came around about halfway through, and we're just like, yikes. It came to the end of it, and we were losing pretty badly. And so a lot of us, obviously, our spirits are down, but we're just like, no, we're not out of this yet. We're ready to win this. Let's get back into this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to make these changes. And sure enough, we made those immediately, and our emotions went through the roof. We were so high on life on that.
And I have to ask one more question. At one point, you guys saw a Doomfist appear on the map. How did you feel about it? Honestly,
It caught us off guard, to say the least. We weren't expecting it, but there was absolutely no complaints. We were expecting a divey of some sort, and we just knew that wasn't as good a dive as they had before, so we were just able to stomp that a little harder than the others.
Well, I want to know, looking towards the future now with the Army West Point esports squad, what are you hoping to accomplish this year? Even looking further into the future, just for the program, even in general.
For the most part, win. Get our name out there. We're a pretty new program. We started like 3 years ago, so we're really getting our roots going now. We're expanding a lot, and we just want to continue to grow, continue to just get better at what we're doing, grow, and hope to be able to have more opportunities with winning. So right now we're a little limited, but we're growing a lot, and we're going to keep winning and keep growing.
Well, that's fantastic to hear, and best of luck to you. Now, before we let you go, one final question I have for you. Do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give to teammates, friends, family, whoever?
Well, everybody that was playing in there was absolutely awesome. We went crazy. Our coach, Carthage, he taught us most everything that we were able to use to adjust there. And then a lot of my friends at home were hyping me up in the stream, so huge shout out to Dominic and everybody that was watching that. Really kept our spirits up, and that's what helped our mindsets there.
Well, that's fantastic. Again, congratulations to you, Raka. Looking forward to seeing how the Army West Point esports program grows in the future. And again, best of luck to you for the rest of the season.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, Acoustic, that's going to do it for us here, and I don't know about you, but I feel like I need a nap after that match. So
I'm getting on Overwatch after this.
well, actually, I'm actually going to do the exact same thing. Maybe we should, let's group up. But before we go do that, I want to send us off on Acoustic. Any final words from you before we close things down here tonight?
Yet again, just congratulations to Army West Point Esports. Those guys have the mentality of champions, honestly. So congratulations to them. And even congratulations to Sumter. Even though they went out, they started off strong, right? Everyone played well. Just some people weren't able to finish off to the end. And of course, Juggle God, thank you for even having me commentate with you. You are absolutely amazing, my man. And thank you to ESPORTSU for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. An absolute pleasure getting to cast with you as well. Big thank you to Coltoon and Rhino Vod, our producer and observer as well. Again, thank you to the entire ESportsU squad, KTAD, everybody else involved in making this happen. And we're nothing left for us here on this stream tonight. We will be closing it out, but tomorrow come back because we will be diving deep into Valorant. So be sure to tune in then, but for now, GG's and see you next time.
Bye.
transition of traditional student athletes, NCAA athletes, and their ability to monetize their name, image, and likeness. It went live July 1st, 2021, and it has continued over the course of the last nearly 14 months now. It's an interesting term because it's been co-opted to describe the NCAA's approach to student athletes being able to make endorsement money or be able to monetize any part of their name, image, and likeness, but it's been around forever, right? We've had athletes endorsing brands for over 100 years. Babe Ruth of the New York Yankees was endorsing brands 100 years ago, and it has continued onward from baseball cards all the way through now, where we have lots of different integrations of how influencers can monetize their followings. So what I would say on the traditional side is it's still a very young space. There are a lot of stories out there regarding NIL that tend to focus on the negative or how out of control, I put in air quotes, it has gotten. But there is still a burgeoning marketplace for many more student athletes that are involved. About 17% of NCAA athletes are currently involved in NIL, but 65% more than that want to get involved and are curious how to get started. On the flip side, brands are challenged with a few different things in this space. There are 10,000 professional athletes in the United States. Once July 1st, 2021 hit, and you dump every NCAA athlete into that space, that's another 500,000. So brands that maybe didn't have a dedicated athlete strategy when there were 10,000 now have 500,000 plus that 10,000 to figure out how to activate who they are. That's a lot. I understand brands' hesitancy in some instances, but I can tell you that companies like us are on a daily basis educating brands and student athletes as to the software you can use, the types of activations you can get involved in, and how to utilize your followings, or if you don't have to or want to be a social media star, other ways in which you can monetize it. Now, I know I described that under the umbrella of the NCAA, but I see it as being no different in esports. I think there are massive opportunities for people with followings to be able to use that and connect with brands. I think a company like us can help you to do that. And then beyond that, we can make sure that those transactions are safe for you. I think there are opportunities, not just at the individual competitor level, but at the program level to have a sponsorship go to that. I'm sure some of you out there listening and watching already have deals like that in place, but I think we can continue to enhance, augment those deals and make them more comprehensive and make them, first of all, I think product deals are perfectly fine, but I think we can get beyond that and grow some of these deals to a greater extent. Paulie, thoughts on that?
Yeah, what you said is right. So I'll put it in for layman's terms here for just the esports players, because I talk to so many of our athletes that compete in our CECC series that are currently still in college. And basically when Mike Blewett says NIL, what he's referring to is just very simple. If a brand or any sort of anyone wants to use your school's name or your brand or anything with you, there is a deal for you that can be put in place, whether it's product deal, whether it's a paid endorsement. You can, whether you're a macro influencer or whether you're a micro influencer, you can be paid for your services. So most of the people, when I talk to them, most of the, I won't say people, college athletes, they are, intimidated by the word. They don't really know what it means. They've never done anything with it before. And that's what it means. Any single time a brand or anyone at all wants to use your name or do a deal with you or do some sort of activation with you or your school, that's basically what the layman's terms, the NIL meaning comes from. And it's evolving in this space. There are so many brands that want to associate with micro and macro influencers and just get people involved with their products or their services. So all of you, collegiate athletes out there that are competing in esports, not only are we trying to broker those deals, but also keep your eyes, ears open, and don't be shy or scared to take these deals, because that's what I've heard the most, is that most of the time they're just scared to take them. They don't know what they are. They don't know if they're locking themselves into some agreement or terms that they're like going to give their name away or something too. So this is a really important space, and it's how you're all going to physically make money and build your brands along with company brands. So it's really important to learn. And my advice is to just get your feet wet. Don't worry about shying away. Read the contracts and take some of these deals, because growing your own brand is the future of what our industry is going to be, in my opinion.
Exactly. And if you follow in the pro space, you'll see that the pro teams are not only focusing on competitive play, but a lot of them are focusing on their brand and their cultural importance in the space. And so, one of the things that we do also is help athletes build their brand,